All cell phones, pages, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order of July 13, 2020 at 6 p.m. I'm sorry, Wednesday, July 15, 2020 at 6 p.m. We'll have an invocation by Councilman Danny Babin and a pledge of allegiance by Councilman John Amity. Please rise.
Dear God, we bow in submission to your will. We ask for your guidance in our deliberations this evening as we consider the issues affecting Terrebonne Parish. We pray that our actions are pleasing in your sight. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, Ms. Margot, please?
Ms. Domain? Here. Mr. Darren Guidry? Here. Mr. Babin?
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry? Here. Mr. Charles Clare?
Here.
Mr. Navy? Here. Mr. Harding? Mr. Michel? Here. Mr. Amity? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on June 10th, 2020. Move Mr. Dirk Guidry, second Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on June 24th, 2020. We've done that. The accounts payable list for 6/29/2020 and 7/6/2020 and 7/13/2020. Move Mr. Dirk Guidry. Second Ms. Domingue. All in favor? Show one abstention, Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. The general business memorial acknowledging the passing of former police juror and Councilman Percy Edward Gabriel. Mr. Navy.
Yes, it gives me great pleasure to read this memorial, but it saddens me under these conditions. This is a memorial for Mr. Honorable Percy Edwards Ham Gabriel. Whereas on December 28, 1932, God in his infinite wisdom blessed the world in the presence of Honorable Percy Edward Ham Gabriel Sr. And whereas in 1962, his earthly journey allowed him to be the voice of the people as a dedicated public servant and community activist seeking to improve the Mechanicsville community and Terrebonne Parish. And whereas he was elected to serve 2 terms as a police juror from June 2nd, 1980 to January 9, 1984, and January 9, 1984 to January 11, 1988, and 2 terms as Terrebonne Parish Councilman November 20, 1992 through January 8, 1996, and January 8, 1996 to January 10, 2000. And whereas Mr. Gabriel championed ideals to serve the elderly and needy as well as provide services to the cleaner neighborhood, sufficient drainage, and safe communities. And whereas Mr. Gabriel was instrumental in the advocacy and construction of the Mechanicsville Gym to provide substance abuse counseling services as well as recreational activities. And whereas Ham was also known for rendering melodies, gospel songs, and his renditions of Blueberry Hill by Fat Dominoes. And whereas the Terrebonne Parish Terrebonne Parish Council and Parish Government, Parish President Gordon E. Dove was saddened to learn that Mr. Percy Gabriel Sr. called to internal arrest on March 18, 2020 at the age of 87. And whereas it is fitting to honor his life legacy and many accomplishments which shall be remembered by his family, friends, colleagues, and Terrebonne Parish community, and whereas he was a faithful member of the Resident Baptist Church in Houma, Louisiana, who served God and his church with love, knowing that one day it would be said, his Lord said unto him, well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord, Matthew 25:23. And whereas although Mr. Gabriel's life assignment has been completed, his heirs can tell the future generations about the remarkable man whose living was not in vain. Now therefore be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government at the Terrebonne Parish Council offer his deepest and sincere condolences to his wife, Miss Mary Lee Lyons Gabriel, his son, Percy Gabriel Jr., Kenneth Gabriel, and Benjamin Thomas, his daughters, Jewel Gabriel, Jennifer Moses, Sharita Gabriel, and Denise Thomas, his grandchildren, his brothers, Clyde Washington and Clarence Gabriel Jr., and his sister, Alice Armstrong and Carol Harris. And be it further resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the transition of the Lord kind servant, Person Edward Gabriel Sr., be hereby acknowledged and duly noted in the official records of the Terrebonne Parish Council proceeding this the 15th day of July the 20th, 2020. Signed by Steve Truscott, Chairman, Gordon E. Dove, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Parish President, and the whole entire council. I think we have some family members here to accept the memorial. Mr. Dove, you want to? The family members present? Y'all come up to the mic, please.
If anyone from Mr. Gabriel's family would like to say a few words, you're welcome to speak. Just push the button on the mic and you can speak.
Good evening, everybody. God bless you. Thank you, God. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody here. If you knew my daddy, you know how he was. And he was a daddy. And, I can say that he was a daddy to the whole community. When I say that he was a daddy, especially to Tony, we call him Tony, but
Don't tell him that.
but we want to thank all of y'all for the kind words. Today, they put the signs up on the street that was named Senator Street. Now it's named Percy Gabriel Lane. And today they went up, so we want to thank everybody for that. It's been a big day for us all day, so thank you guys so much. God bless you.
And I just want to just make a few comments. I can't just let this go like this, but yes, where I'm from, Mechanicsville community, my nickname is Tony. So no one please call me Tony, but that's my nickname. And the people in the community do know me as Tony, but I grew up knowing Mr. Percy Gabriel, and I grew up in the church knowing him. That's when I first met him as a child. And he nurtured me from a little kid on up to a man. And it was an honor and a pleasure to see him achieve some of the things that he has done in that community to make it better. And all he tried to do was actually just try to make things a little better for a lot of people, especially the kids and the elderly people in the community. So it's a great honor to actually do this memorial and to sit here and say that I knew someone that was, to me, I consider a community hero. We did change the name of the street. I see District 11 is not here, but my understanding is they're going to go ahead and we also support that too, but they're going to go ahead and change the name of the Mechanicsville Gym to Percy Gabriel Mechanicsville Gym. So I think that's a great honor. And I know we have a lot of bar patrons and bar owners here tonight, and Mr. Gabriel did own a bar himself, and I can tell you when you walked into there, it was like, he greeted you with such pleasure, and you felt good just to be able to sit around and talk and congregate. And he could tell you a lot of stories while he's singing songs, but I tell you, it's a lot of good stories. So I want to just say thank you, and thank the family for sharing him with us through all these years. Once again, it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Seeing no further lights, we're going to move on. Item C is a resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm All South Consulting Engineers LLC to provide professional services for Bayou Country Sports Park lighting project and authorizing the execution of an agreement for these services. Mr. Harding.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to deviate from this particular agenda and discuss item C after E.
Okay, we have a motion to deviate item C till after item E discussion by Mr. Harding, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, giving preliminary approval to the issuance of not exceeding $50 million of public improvement sales tax revenue bonds of the parish of Terrebonne. Move, Mr. John Amade, second, Mr. John Davy. Y'all have to excuse me tonight. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Item E. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Dove.
With your permission, if they would go ahead and pull up the board, I'd like to just show one project that's on this $50 million reissuing, that when we reissue the bonds, we're gonna go ahead and bring back to the council, of course, for approval as we move along, as we move along. So if we could go ahead and look up on the screen. If, let me see. Ms. Suzette, if, oh, okay, excuse me, I was learning how to work this thing. Well, okay, well, really, I was gonna show the Shell Oil, but I'll go ahead and start with this, and maybe Dirk can join in. This is in Dirk Guidry's district. We started this project probably 2.5 years ago, 100% funded by Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. It's a lock system in Chauvet, Petit Caillou at Boudreaux Canal. We just went ahead and got substantial completion on it. It was a great, this is the first lock system in Terrebonne Parish. We're under construction with one in Bayou Terrebonne, and it cost another one, a big one, a $420 million one in the Homer Navigation Canal, which is due to go, we're expecting the permit this month from the Corps, and the levee board's handling that. This was handled by the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, $10 million, and the one in Bayou Terrebonne's $10 million, and this is the generator shed. This is, excuse me, the parking lot. And they're missing one. Let me see here.
Parking lot.
Let me go back. Okay, there you go. That shows the old gate in the Petit Caillou at Boudreaux Canal, which was built, Dirk could probably tell you the exact year. 1985, thank you, Dirk. And this was a $10 million lock system built by this government. And as you can see, it's going to be a lock system. So no matter how much south winds coming, high tide, our fishermen, shrimpers, oystermen, recreation fishermen will come and go. This will control the water in Petit Caillou. This has been a great project. Sea Level did a great job, $10 million. We did take substantial completion. In fact, we approved it Monday night. As you can see, it has a generator, and it's a very, very good job. You know, we started this project, of course, like I said, Dirk Guidry, and this council and the former council, councilmen and women, and we did complete the project, and it's a great addition to Terrebonne Parish, the first lock system. And it's going to be operated by the levee board, And, but, you know, it was built by Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and I would yield to Dirk if you'd like to say a few words on this, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I don't have okay, I mean, it works. Yeah, you know, thank you a lot, Mr. Dove. This is something that I've been working on probably since I became a councilman about 9 years ago. This project here, I think all throughout South Louisiana and different states, as our tide rise and our land sinks, this is gonna have to be something that's gonna be done in all coastal communities, especially along the coast of Louisiana, where we have probably the most subsidence of all. This project, in conjunction with the conveyance channel, which is about maybe a couple of miles up the road, which this lock system is not a traditional lock system. It's a little bit different than what the Bubba Dove, where the Bubba Dove will be. When the boat comes into this place, we'll let some of this water go out into Bayou Little Kaya, and there's a pump station with 4 48-inch pumps that'll pump this water out of Bayou Little Kaya. What we're trying to do is, while we could live in these bayou communities for a lot longer time, because if we wouldn't have these projects going on here, and Steve can attest to that, especially the one going down in Bayou Terrebonne, if we don't have these projects that we're doing, along with the Morganza to the Gulf and the Ward 7 levee systems and all our parish levees, there's a good bit of Chauvin, Montague, Grand Cas, you know, where all these people would have had to move out already. So we've done everything in a short time, which is we've started probably about 14, 15 years ago. We spent millions of dollars, and thanks for the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish for coming up and putting up money to protect us. And once the state seen that we were willing to go out and protect ourselves, they were not hesitant to give us money to build these projects. So, I mean, for communities down these bayous, this lock system is something that everybody's gonna have to have in the future if we're gonna sustain lives down these bayous. And what it also does, it protects salt water from coming in and killing our marshes. So it helps and it benefits the communities and the environment in a bunch of different ways. So, you know, thanks to the last council, thanks to Mr. Dove, because when Mr. Dove was first elected, even before he was sworn into office, this is the first project I hit him about, because I know the importance of this and the conveyance channel for the people that are representing in Chauvin, that district, that part of my district, to be able to survive and live and not have to be ran off by salt water and hurricanes, just like the people at Île-à-Jean-Charles right now, you know. Pretty soon they got to move off of this island because it's sinking and it's going away, and it's be too much money to try to save them. So I know I'm rambling on, and I can ramble on about this for an hour because this is passion for me. These projects right here maybe give more passion than what I got from Mr. Dove, because I live it and I see it every day. And I don't want my communities of the Cajun heritage to flounder and go away. We need to keep alive Terrebonne Parish. We need to keep alive our seafood and our crab businesses. So, you know, enough said, but hey, thanks to everybody that had something to do with this, because it brings chills to my body, because I go at this place every morning. When I wake up, this is the first place I go to, is this lock system right here, and I check on it every day to make sure that we progressing to protect Terrebonne Parish and the city of Chauvin. Thank you.
And I would also like to add, well put, Councilman Dirk Guidry, this was funded by 100% the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish, and I want to give a shout out there to Miss Carla, who is a crab fisherman, who calls me every time this gate can't open because the waters are too high. Miss Carla, you don't have to wait anymore, and I'm sure Dirk's got his fair share of calls, as I did. But we have a lock system for economics, like Dirk said, saltwater intrusion, and also to control the water level with the conveyance channel. That's right up the bayou from here. Great project, and so with that, I'm going to move to let me see. This is the and that is substantially completed. And okay, the Shell Oil donation, the reason I'm doing this is going to be on that bond issue. This is the largest project on the bond, the largest one project. There's about 25 projects that we plan to do with it if this council approves everything as the bond moves forward, which they just okayed for the bond to start moving forward. We still have to approve the projects later on. This is 4,193 acres that was donated by Shell Oil. We want to thank Shell Oil. This is a retention. This is right north of Savannah Road. This will help Shreva, Gray, Bayou Cane especially, Broadmoor, Lisa Park, all the way down to Homer, Louisiana, on 311 side. This can contain, this has a retention capability of 1.8 billion gallons. And it'll be a 400 CFS pump that will pump the water out of Bayou Cane into this retention area. Now, we have to build levees around here. We are waiting on a permit. We're doing land servitudes and working with the landowners to make sure everyone's happy along this, but we should have the permit in 2 to 3 months is what we're hoping to go to bid on. And this is right north of Savannah Road. This is the 11A system. Without this, Bayou Terrebonne will continue to flood. You will have water that right now goes all the way up into St. Bernadette School because of Bayou Terrebonne. And so this will solve a lot of problems on 4 different council men and women's area, or 5 different council men and women. And this is a great project. We've been working on this a year and a half. We've already funded the engineering. This is right, the pump station will be right behind Rouse's, right off of Savannah Road. It's to your left. In fact, both the project that me and Dirk was just talking about and this project, we have brochures up here if anyone would like it. This will be a 400 CFS, which will take out of Bayou Cane and pump into the retention area, therefore not allowing all the water from North Terrebonne to go south and through Bonanza Pump Station and overflow the banks of Bayou Terrebonne and other areas. The engineers did models, and this is what the engineering models say to do. They didn't come and say, we didn't just pull it out our back pocket and say, let's do this. An engineering firm hired a modeling company, and this will solve all our problems down Bayou Terrebonne, and we also have to do some cleaning down Bayou Terrebonne. It's 400 CFS. In other words, the models show you need 749 CFS down Bayou Terrebonne to the intercoastal. You can never put it down there. The bulkheads have closed in that bayou over the last 70, 80 years. So this takes 400 cubic foot a second water out of the system, and it allows 349 to go down Bayou Terrebonne. So this is a great project, and this will, we will go back to the council to ask for approval of $10 million. We've already done 1.5. This is a conceptual drawing of it, and that's right behind Rouse's off Martin Luther King and Savannah Road. As you can see, it'll be electric pump stations with backup generators, and you can see the what they call freshwater marsh behind it. And if you're looking to the west right here. So with this, that's part of the project that was just approved to go forward. They still have to approve the projects. So I just wanted to bring this up since we just passed, the council graciously passed a motion to move forward with reissuing the bonds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Seeing no further lights, we're going to move on. But did we vote on this?
No.
Suzette, did we vote on this?
Yes. We did.
We didn't, huh? No, I didn't think so. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. I'll move to go back in order. Oh, okay. Item E, a discussion and possible action relative to removing Recreation District Number 23 from under parish oversight.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I put this on the agenda as I was reviewing the oversight in the ordinances. Section 21-92 allows the council to put one of the recreation or all of the recreation boards into oversight. It would be expenditure, payroll, project, and board oversight if we see any concerns in the rec districts. It also states in here that the council shall revisit the requirements under this section every 6 months, and I realized that the council had not done so. We currently have 2 rec districts that are in oversight, Rec District 2-3 and Rec District 11. So I asked administration if these rec districts were in compliance with the oversight conditions for the 6 months preceding March the 1st, 2020. The answer that I had gotten back was that 2-3 had been in compliance. Rec 11 was working on it, but was not in full compliance at the time. So I'm going to make a motion tonight that we remove Rec District 2-3 from parish oversight. Now, this doesn't take the pressure off of them, because under the ordinances of Section 21-90, they're still under budgetary and fiscal controls. And what that means is that they have to provide us with annual financial statements, their budget for approval, and at any time, the CFO or others, meaning the council, can request an audit of their situation, so that way we're always looking over them. So with that, that's my motion. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, but I have a light. Mr. Navy?
Yeah. I'm not gonna support this, and it's not because of, that John brought this up, but it's because we got here in oversight. It's because the powers to be years ago who created this process with these rec districts didn't do this right, okay? Because we are truly not a consolidated government. That's undisputable. But this is my situation, and I wanted to make this clear tonight. When I created the oversight a couple of years ago, before this council here, when we was under the last council, and Jules Abraham and I got together, along with Candace, this process was intended for all rec districts, but it was not intended for a disciplinary process. This was only to make sure that they stay in compliance and we have the checks and balance we need. No matter if they get audits or whatever, it's a process that the government, the parish government, need to make sure the taxpayers' dollars are being wisely spent and not someone just going out there rogue and doing what they want to do. And I'm talking about all rec districts, this was intended for all rec districts. What happened was, when we was crafting this thing, of course, the rec districts was complaining, and they started complaining to their council members, and that's where politics got involved, and that's where they said, okay, Rec 2-3, Rec 11 causing us a problem, we're gonna go ahead and put them over oversight, like it was a disciplinary aspect of it. But it wasn't intended to be a disciplinary aspect of it. We had to settle for that because that's the only way that we was gonna get the council members to vote on it, because of the other district was complaining. So I'm just here just to kind of clear up that oversight was never intended to be a disciplinary aspect of what we was doing to keep them in line. It was only designed to make sure that we have those checks and balance, to make sure the taxpayers' money in those rec districts are being spent the way it's supposed to be spent. I wanted to clear that up. But once again, here we go again, politics. Thank you.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes. There's been a lot of discussion, and of course, I'm the new kid on the block, and there's been a lot of discussion in reference to 2-3 and oversight. The question would be, what is oversight? Who's doing the overseeing? If we're just looking at numbers of X's and O's and stuff like that, I think that the recreation itself, 2-3, perhaps with the 7 parks that they have, and if they only had those 7 parks, then I can say that I agree with that. But I don't think the jury's completely out in reference to what actions are going to be taken and what is the responsibilities of 2-3 and the Bayou Sports Park. I know we're going to have something that's going to be presented to us and has been presented to us for the near future. But I would actually look at the comparisons of Recreation District 11, Recreation District 2-3. That can be a similarity that you can place Rec 11 or let them stay under the oversight and release 2-3 off their oversight. But if you're going to have the cow, you might as well take the calf too. So I think it's very unfortunate for the people that I represent in Recreation 11 has been actually handed a bad deal with this. There's no comparisons to 7 parks and 22 parks, and expecting with a $200,000 difference or so for Rec 11 with 22 parks or more to sustain what they have. I really think that some of the public parks that all the people of Terrebonne Parish have the opportunity to lavish in, such as City Park. There are some recreation facilities that can be ran by the Terrebonne Parish Recreation, which would actually offset, which if you guys really realize that I put something on your table and we actually had a plan, which would create a better situation for Recreation 11 and get them out of the red and put them into the black. So I would take the unfairness of this and perhaps entertain a motion, substitute motion, to go along with taking 2, 3, and Recreation 11 out of oversight. Presented in a motion, a substitute motion.
Wait, I would like some clarification on that. You want aspects of Rec 11 out of the oversight, or you want the whole?
I want the whole Recreation 11 to be placed out of oversight along with 2, 3. And the same conditions as was spoken about, that's always going to be oversight. And it should have been always oversight. One of the reasons why Recreation 11 is in the problem it is the council before me helped to put Recreation 11 in the red that they're in. So I don't think that Recreation 11 and the citizens of Recreation 11 should be hogtied to the project of being in the hole. If anyone want to have a discussion in reference to that, it's rather obvious. This is unfair, totally unfair, and I think the government, maybe not at this time, but we will address it again. And I'm just taking an opportunity to speak for the people. We have a lot of public facilities that everybody uses, but then we're talking about the people within the neighborhoods, those small people that don't have a lot of facilities that they have to go and can't afford to go to everywhere. We have facilities such as in McCannville, Audemars Street Park, we have Lee Avenue Park. We have these parks that are dilapidated because we have actually been stripped of the funds and the capacity to take care of these parks.
I guess I don't mind, well, you know, I have issues with Rec 11. I don't mind looking at that motion, but we need to know if that's legal since they're not on the agenda, Rec 11.
Well,
Refer to Jude. Jude, can you tell me if I can second that motion if I wanted to, if it's legally?
It's not on the agenda to take Rec 11 out of oversight. The public's not put on notice. They may have people that want to come here and don't want it taken out of oversight. So I would advise you that since it's not been put on the agenda, that you can't, that's not a proper substitute motion, and Rec 11 shouldn't be discussed.
Okay, well, my position would have been to second it, but if it's legally we can't put it on, then we could defer that. I mean, that's up to you, Councilman Hardy.
yeah, I'll be perfectly willing to pull the motion. You know, I mean, this is an opportune time that, you know, I mean, everything is put before you. So therefore, you know, we have to address that issue. And then I'm actually bringing that in all fairness to Rec 11. You know, man, so therefore, yeah, I'm perfectly willing to pull the motion, And then whatever's done right now with 2-3, and all fairness, we want the same thing done for recreational 11. So, you know what I mean, to bring that to your attention, you know what I mean, if we could not have done it this time, I'm perfectly satisfied with that. Thank you. Yeah.
Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and I want to thank John for putting this on the agenda. We originally, Rec 2-3 was originally put under oversight because of some inconsistencies. I can't remember when we did that, John, but since that time, we have completely rebuilt the board with a lot of you guys' support, as well as Mr. Michel's support. And I think we built a good board. They've been operating to where they've been following all the rules without us even having to look over them over the last 2 years. And really, I would have put this, John, on the agenda probably months ago if it hadn't been for that one piece, the sports park, which it looks like we have a plan for. So I think it's the appropriate time. They've been operating over 6 months, like you said, and really it's probably been 2 years that they've been operating to where oversight is really not found anything that they needed to be concerned with. And I'm not even sure, how Candace is doing now, whether she even gets them to run everything by her because they've been so above board. So I support this, of course, fully, and I think now's the appropriate time, and thank you for putting this on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Amity? Mr. Michel.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Mr. Guidry, I disagree with you. I think an appropriate time was about 1.5 years ago, but I'm glad it's on there now. Thank you very much.
Mr. Babbitt?
Yeah, I want to allude to something that John said, John Navy said, okay? Again, this was done, I wasn't on the council, that doesn't mean anything, but if the intent was different than what the final product is, I think maybe we need to take a look at the actual ordinance again, or the actual oversight clause again, to make sure that we're not looking at it in the wrong light, okay? Because we are talking strictly financial here, basically, okay? And as Darren said, we've changed the board on Rec 2-3. So I would urge us to take a look at, in the future, the actual intent, if you feel, John, that it is wrong, okay? And that's a very good point. Thank you.
You want to speak again? Your light's on. Mr. Amity? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your lights turn. Ms. Domingue?
Before we vote on this, I'd like to ask Miss Candace if 2-3 is in compliance and if they've been in compliance for 6 months.
Yes, prior to March 31st, so prior to the COVID, Rec 2-3 was in compliance. Anything they need gets approved. Any bids or anything comes to me before they actually go out and do contracts and stuff. So yes, before that they were in compliance. And they're still in compliance during the COVID time period. It's just that nothing's happening.
Okay. Mr. Amity?
Okay. Thank you. I just want to say a couple of things. I spoke with Mr. Navy about the original intent of his ordinance back then, and like Mr. Babin said, I would be willing to work with him to see if we can't get a coalition of this council to bring it back to what it was originally looking for. Nevertheless, I'm just going by as it stands in effect today. I have no problem with looking at Rec 11. I did ask in my request concerning Rec 11, so I'm willing to work with Mr. Harding on that if he chooses to put it up at a future date. And I mean, we're just going by what the ordinance says. They've met for 6 months, so I'm just asking to take them out. And I'm making a commitment to Mr. Navy and any other members that would like to join us that we review the ordinance and maybe we can get it to where it was originally intent. So with that, I ask that you guys would vote favorably on this with me so we can, again, close off one thing that's been lingering. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Harding.
Yes, I'm not totally against this, but and going back to what Mr. Babin was saying, is we want to make sure, we want to have this and look at it properly, you know what I mean, overall, you know what I mean, and I think that's the position that a new council can deal with it much better than the previous councils have. Not to say that that's so much wrong, it's just the fact that, you know, I think it's kind of lopsided, and that's the whole point about that, to address the issue and actually have my constituents know that I am addressing an issue up front. Thank you very much.
Okay, seeing no further lights, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? One show, one opposition, one nay, Mr. Navy. Motion carries. Motion goes 6:30 public hearings, Mr. Michel. Second, Mr. Babin. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Item A is an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the parish of Terrebonne so as to rezone from R1 Single Family Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. Lots A and B belonging to Bayou Du Rentals LLC and situated at 8338 and 8342 Main Street, home of Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Bayou Du Rentals LLC is the applicant. Public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion to close, Mr. Michel, second, Mr. Babin. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion to adopt, Mr. Amity. Second, Mr. Michel. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion passes. Item B is consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2020 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Ashland Landfill Road Extension, $250,000. JAG 2019 Award, $12,017. Homer Police Department, LA Commission on Law Enforcement Grant, $375,000. Animal Shelter Donation, $2,500. Public once. Public twice. Public 3 times. Motion closed, Mr. Dirk Gidry, second, Mr. Gerald Michel. I have a light, Mr. Michel? Okay. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion to adopt, Mr. Gidry. Second, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Michel.
I just have a question about the Ashland Landfill Road Extension. And look, this is, I'm not a budget person, okay? But, we got $250,000 coming from capital outlay. Is there any reason we don't just take that from the excess money that's in solid waste?
That is where this 250 is coming from.
Okay, okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If it's coming from there, I didn't know why we had to even put it on here, but that's fine, that's good. Thank you very
Well,
much.
we have to put it on here because it wasn't appropriated. It wasn't originally budgeted. So we have to move it from the net position into an expense, and that requires a budget amendment and council approval.
Okay, then I like it a lot. Thank you.
Can we have a motion, say all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, ordinance to rename Weatherford Drive as Rouse's Drive. Public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion closed, Mr. Michel.
Second.
Mr. Amity. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion adopt, Mr. Amity. Second, Mr.
Second.
Darren Gidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Item D is an ordinance to authorize donation of land located at 507 Madison Street, Homer, Louisiana, under the terms and conditions of the Community Development Block Grant CDBG buyout program. Authorize parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to effect the donation to Options for Independence. Public once. Public twice. Public 3 times. Motion closed, Mr. Michel. Second, Mr. Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion adopt, Mr. Amity. Second, Mr. Michel. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion to go to regular order, Mr. Michel. Second, Mr. Darren Gidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion to go to item C, Mr. Gidry. Second, Mr. Michel. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Before we go to item C, I want to read item B. I forgot to read it earlier. It's been pulled from the agenda, but it's a memorial acknowledging the life and legacy of former Terrebonne Parish School District Interim Superintendent James Edward Charles. Okay, item C, a resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm of All South Consulting Engineers, LLC, to provide professional services for the Bodies of Country Sports Park lighting project and authorizing the execution of agreement for these services. Motion to adopt, Mr. Darren Guidry, second, Mr. Amity. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. We in regular order, we just gotta skip over what we've done. We at F. We at F, right, Suzette? I got so many marks on here, I'm not sure where we at now. Okay, discussion and possible action relative to Bay Towers resolution adopted June 24, 2020, which will contingent upon action by the Homer Housing Authority. Mr. Michel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 3 weeks ago, at our council meeting, we prepared a resolution that that was to be taken to the Homer Terrebonne Housing Authority so that we could forward it jointly to our federal delegation and to Housing and Urban Development. And I'll leave my opinion out of it, but apparently that wasn't something that was adopted by the Terrebonne Parish Housing and Urban Authority, and that's been 3 weeks ago. Some good things have come at the Bayou Towers as far as air conditioning is concerned. One of the primary complainants contacted me and told me that her air is working, and I was very, very glad to hear that. But that's the only one. And so I said, okay, well, with the coronavirus and I'm banned from the building, I decided to go ahead and send out a mail out to the original 14 or 15 people that complained to me and asked them to respond to it. I did not send it out until a week ago yesterday, and today I got 2 responses by telephone. I gave them the option of calling me or mailing back. One of them was the lady whose air conditioner was fixed, and it is now, I don't want to say it's completely broken again, but it's causing her concern again. And another one was somebody's whose was never fixed. Mr. Bonvillain came in here, and he was very upset with me when he came here. But then when Channel 4 came out to the high rise, and Mr. Bonvillain came and addressed me in very angry words, he told me, he says, if you got $8 million, you fix it. And I said, okay, well, at least now that's telling me where the problem is. If it's $8 million, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can get the federal delegation to help with. You know, I didn't have this whole conversation with him because it ended rather abruptly. But I mean, you know, he admitted that day that there was a problem with money for getting it fixed. So we passed that resolution and it went nowhere. And I believe that we need to send this in, whether or not the Homer Terrebonne Housing Authority wants it sent in. And it's really, really important to know that I don't have any problems with administration at the high rise. I think they're doing a great job. They don't have $8 million to fix that thing, okay? I'm not faulting them for it. I'm only faulting Homer Terrebonne Housing Authority to the degree that they seem to be putting their head in the sands on it. And Mr. Harding, I would be glad for you to go by yourself if you wanted to, or to go with whoever you wanted to. I think somebody needs to go door to door. Some of these people are afraid to complain. And somebody needs to go door to door in that building and see what's going on with those air conditioners and whether or not it's legitimate. And you know, from my experience, it was certainly legitimate at the time. But the bottom line is we have veterans in there, we have elderly in there, we have infirmed in there, and it needs to be fixed. It's just we've been having 100+ degree days over there. Now, they did receive something, I don't know if it was today or not, but I saw it today, telling them that if the air conditioner's on, don't open the window, because it affects everybody else who, I guess because it affects everybody else who might be working. But I don't know how you do that if your air conditioner is not working, whether it's on or not. I would think you'd have to open the window. And this particular reminder went out to them, and it began by saying, because of many complaints that we've had over the past weeks. Well, they're acknowledging that they have complaints. And again, this is not the director's fault over there. I never blamed her, and never will blame her. But it needs to be resolved. All 9 of us need to be outraged by this and need to help with this. This is not a council issue. This is a Terrebonne Parish issue. Okay? That's one of the reasons, only one of the reasons I went there in the first place. It's not a council issue. I went there as a human being because it needs to be addressed. Not because I didn't think Mr. Harding could address it. It's because I didn't. My guess was he didn't know about it. Okay, but we all know about it now. We all need to address it. Just like we're addressing Rec 2-3. Just like we're doing everything else. This is a parish issue, and we have 300 plus residents in there who, well, that's not true. Some of them have air conditioning that's working, but we have 300 plus residents in there we need to be concerned about. Many of them who are not having air conditioning right now, and so I would suggest that we move this forward and send the delegation a notice, or at least send HUD to make sure that they know. I mean, if we got to do whatever it takes to get that air conditioner fixed. It's so frustrating to me. I don't know what to say anymore about it. I don't know what to do about it. I did get a message the other day from Mr. Hammer asking me how did it come out. And I told him that I didn't know for certain, but at the time I told him that the one of the ladies there did tell me that her air conditioner was working. But it needs to be addressed, and I don't know what to say. And look, Mr. Dove, I think you're doing great things for this parish, but and I know you're the strongest one up here. So you can help with this, and I'm begging you, sir. I'm begging you, and very respectfully, and so I just wish we could get something done with this, because it's not resolved, and it needs to be resolved for these people. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gerald, I've been going by there for 4.5 years, and I don't know if there's air conditioning problems. I know it was never brought by the people that had come downstairs that they had an air conditioning problem. Some do open their windows because they smoke. Maybe some are open. If you go by there, there's going to be a lot of windows open. But some of them are smoking. Some of them may be hot. I don't know. We've had the ACs. I've asked David Drury to go check the ACs. He doesn't see any problems with it. It is an old unit. That's an old building. The oil value is not there. All I would ask is, look, I'm fine with you trying to find out if we have a problem there and if we can get money for the air conditioner if we need one. But please do not bring Channel 4, Channel 6, and bring people out of that building. We've gone for 4 months without one COVID-19 positive patient out of this with over 300 people, like you just said. I'm asking you, if you want to fix it, please go ahead, and I'm fine with that. That's good. I wish we could get $8 million for a new air conditioning system. But please do not bring the people out of the building to talk to a news guy that's coming out of New Orleans. We do not, I'm going to repeat it, for 4 months, we've given mass sanitizers every night. All the common spaces in that building, I think it's 10 stories, are decontaminated. And, we don't need people going upstairs, knocking on doors, and going in and out of that building if they've got no business in it. So please, go hustle the $8 million. All I'm asking you or anyone else is do not bring strange people around that building. I like to think, thanks to Angela, thanks to other people that's been involved, Earl Hughes, myself, Steve Ponville, it's amazing we've been corona-free in that building for so long, but to bring people outside to interview on TV doesn't do that any good. I've talked to the delegation, and I'm glad you're bringing this up. I don't have a problem with you bringing it up, of course, but if we need an $8 million system, which we do, there's no doubt, we need to put double insulated windows in that old building. There's no doubt about that. But all I'm asking everyone is don't bring people around there. We've been successful. When we took over this, the Council on Aging was administering the elderly program. They completely left when the COVID hit. So we went in there and we completely took over the social program of that place, working with Ms. Nikita, who's done a wonderful job. And I want to bring it out, and the board, parish president, the president of the board, Barry Baumel, Larry Vogtland, and the others of running that. But yes, we do need to go try to hustle some money for a new air conditioning system. I'm sure it would help. But all I'm asking everyone is to keep away from the building if you can. Thank you.
Mr. Harding?
Thank you. On the 25th, well, actually, we had a meeting, and first of all, I would say that, I'm partial to elderly folk and young children, especially those that can't really do for themselves as well as others. It never was a point about that. I think the approach was wrong. So we had that meeting. I wasn't against the thing that was drawn up. I wanted to have the Housing Authority to have an opportunity to go along with us. It wasn't that I was against it. I'm not against the folks that's living up there. But they had a meeting, and in that meeting, the Housing Authority had discussed how to report complaints. And they stressed that to the residents, how to register their complaints. One of the problems that they had there, they're not registering the complaints. It's not fear. I would hate to think that those people that are up there are in fear of opening their mouths. And they're not in that fear. I think Mr. Michel, he was there at the meeting, but he eventually left, and this is the results of the meetings. And they announced that they were going to change the thermostats, all the thermostats in the Housing Authority's complex, Bayou Towers. They gave instructions to those that were there, that were in attendance there, how to operate the new thermostats. They also let the folk know that they were trying to get new windows placed in those units that they have there. It's an older building. They want to change the windows like they wanted to do. And the other factors, if there is a complaint, they complain properly. They know how to work the thermostat. The other factor that they have some units that they put inside. They don't use window units anymore. They have windows, air conditioning units that they use in the inside. All you have to do is just make the complaint. If they cannot repair it, they would actually boost the air service that they have in that particular apartment to be sufficient for them. The other thing about that, the board, when I went there, I let the board know, and they were informed about what the parish wanted to do. Mind you that the Housing Authority, they answered the folk in New Orleans, the people in New Orleans answered to Washington, D.C. They just had passed in March a HUD inspection, saying the whole building. So therefore, with that and the standard operation procedures of their complaining or reporting the system that they have, which is the federal government, they're sticking to that. They just passed that, you know what I mean? How could you say, well, look, we just passed an inspection, and but we're gonna go buy a $8 million air conditioning unit? Yes, they have an old building, and I think they're gonna stick to their guns, and I know they're gonna stick to their guns, that's what they're saying. So they're gonna stick to their guns, and even though when as I'm closing, when that meeting was called, not one complaint was made about air conditioning. They had an open meeting, everyone knew it, Channel 4 had been on there, not one complaint about air conditioning. It's one thing for us to handle our business here, but then for us to tell the federal government to do what they have to do, I'm in favor of the letter going to Washington. I'm in favor of that. But I don't think that we have that much power that is assumed by someone that we can actually just make this happen. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and
Mr. Guidry?
forgive my ignorance on this, but I'm still somewhat confused. This building, we have HUD and we have the Terrebonne Housing Authority. Is the Housing Authority, and maybe Dirk, you've been on this longer, you maybe could tell me, is that a government, is that a Terrebonne Parish thing, or do we just, it's a federal government board? Who owns the building?
No, not the board.
Well, it's Chairman,
Okay, yeah.
can I answer?
I don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Legal, I guess, knows a little more.
The Houma Terrebonne Housing Authority is a state-created district. So it's like the hospital service district. It's a state-created district. It is, the board is appointed by the parish president. That's the only authority we have. Other than that, it's a state-mandated board. It's got its own statutes, and that's for hospital district, for housing boards throughout the state of Louisiana. It is funded by HUD, the federal government. So Nikita and her people work for the Houma Terrebonne Housing Authority. I believe all of their funding comes from HUD, in which no different than projects that Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government receives money from the federal government or state government. We have to comply with their requirements if you're taking their money. So that's how HUD comes into it. As I recall and believe, HUD put up the money and actually built that complex, as well as the other complex on the other side. So if somebody, and I don't know whether it's a problem or not, but if somebody wants to address the issue, then you probably should get with Nikita and address it to, there's a HUD office in your office.
But if we wanted to get money for this, it would have to come from our federal.
Well, the money would come from HUD unless Congress would appropriate it. They put up the money, that's their building. And the Houma Housing Authority is strictly recipient of those funds in that building, and so they follow HUD rules. But it's the HUD, the Houma Terrebonne Housing Authority is specifically created by state statute. And within those statutes, there are rules, there's actually rules about who can go in the building and laws on that. It's things like that. So, but it's not a Terrebonne Parish created entity. It is like the hospital service district, like the Terrebonne levy district. So
So we would, so in addition to sending it to our federal delegation, it would probably help to send us to whoever's the secretary of HUD, or, his office as well, just to let them know that we as an organization have a concern that, one of their buildings doesn't have enough money to upgrade their air condition. And although it may be working, it's obviously doesn't seem to be working well enough. It's not insulated enough. So I would support sending it to the federal delegation and representatives of HUD. I think that would be appropriate.
Mr. Navy?
I see Jude's got up, but Jude, I thought in Senator Circle area that we have some type of maintenance agreement with the Housing Authority. I remember that came in front of the council when I was there the first my first term. Do you know, or you can remember any kind of legal maintenance agreements that we do have back there with Senator Circa?
I don't know if, I'm not saying there's not one that we don't have an agreement, but I don't know if a maintenance agreement, is Nikita here? I mean, I presume Nikita would know if there's an
Yeah,
agreement.
I remember
With
that.
the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government.
Yeah.
But I mean, the housing authority is a state-created district. I mean, there's no question about that.
You know,
I mean, it's
so-
not, and it receives its funding from the from HUD, Housing and Urban Development.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, you know, whether the thing was handled properly or improperly, that's over with, okay? But we've established here tonight, I mean, President Dove said it, there seems to be a problem. We talked about intent earlier, John, and I think Gerald's intent, if the money has to come from HUD, and President Dove just mentioned that, and rightfully so, if we had to find $4 million, we got to try to find $4 million. I think if we are petitioning the federal government, whether we have the authority over them or not, we're petitioning them to send some money down here to help out something that they own and they should be managing. So I think the intent of what Gerald had is a good thing, to try to help to get money to come down here if in fact they need it. If you're saying that they don't need any money over there, then it would be a moot issue, but I don't think that's the case. So I'm just saying, let's move forward with this. We're trying to help the elderly. We're trying to help the people that are living in there if the conditions aren't good. And by sending a letter to them to say, send some money down here to work on it, I can't see where that hurts. I just think that helps, so thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Backing up with what Mr. Babin was saying, it's not uncommon for governments to send requests to the delegations above them, whether a parish government sends something to a state delegation or a federal delegation. That's not uncommon to do those such things. The issue of inspections, let me just say, that is my livelihood. In the construction work that I do, I've done a lot of work. In fact, however many years ago, we put the air conditioning in that building and did some control work in that building. And there's aspects to that building that'll cause some little hiccups in the way that it's designed. When inspectors go in, a lot of time, they're just looking for general things. They're not digging into the deep things. So I would suggest to the housing authority that they do a little bit more. Don't just rely on HUD inspector coming through and putting his blessing on it. If you look a little bit deeper, you're going to find things. It's a complex system. It's got chillers down on the first floor, a cooling tower on the roof. It's what we call a two-pipe system. So when the chiller's running, it's sending chilled water up to the rooms where they have a little unit in there. Rather than using Freon, it uses that chilled water. In the mild seasons, it has to switch from the chiller to the heating system in that same system. A better system would be a four-pipe system where they had separate, so you can run heat and cool in those mild systems at the same time. So it's a lot to look at, and I would think that they have a pretty good, the Housing Authority Board, has a pretty good understanding of what their issues are in that building. I just don't understand why they wouldn't accept somebody who's trying to help them, because it's not unusual for that to happen. So I would encourage them to, if they know a dollar amount, and they're seeking that dollar amount, get everybody that can help to help. It adds more weight as we do these things. So I too would be in favor of sending a request to the delegation saying, hey, why don't you guys contact them, see how much money they need, and get them some help. Not just with the air conditioning, but with the windows. That building was built in the 70s, and I'm sure it could use some wind hardening systems and improvements as well. Senator Circle, we did a lot of work in Senator Circle years ago where we went in and redid all the housing units. They were gutted out, insulated, new windows, all that stuff. I would like to see them do the same thing with that building. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Michelle?
Thank you. A few things. First of all, just for the record, when Channel 4 came out, we did keep social distances, that nobody from Channel 4 got within 6 feet of anybody who was being interviewed. Secondly, the people are afraid to report. Every time I speak to someone over there, every single time I speak to someone over there, they bring it up. I don't bring it up. They bring it up, okay? Now, I truly believe their fear is unfounded. I don't think they have any reason to be afraid, but they do feel that way, okay? And another thought that just, that's entered my mind on occasion, I don't think I've ever brought it up. Some people do have window units. Why, it would seem if they would put a few more window units, if they have 20 people in that building who don't have air and they put window units, it seems like it might take some of the stress off the rest of that building that's not being adequately cooled. Again, just a thought. I don't know if that's something that can be done or not. And with those things being said, I would like to make a motion to forward the resolution that we looked at 3 weeks ago to the delegation and to HUD.
Mr. Harding?
Mr. Michelle, do you know some of the people that live at the high-rise got to go to the bus stop? You didn't know that? Well, okay. Well, there are certain fears, and sometimes people, the only thing people have to fear is fear themselves. They're constantly, and this is the point that we're trying to really get down to, is the fact that these people have to make those complaints. And then I'm in favor of this. But to say those people are there in fear, it's not about an air conditioner. It's about the people that's running the place. It's not about air conditioning. I'm in favor of the air conditioning, but then, you know, man, that's what I'm trying to say, to do this decently and in order, and not to point out, I can't see anyone being in fear of there when they have a reporting system. They have police, they have 911. They have a reporting system. And that's where, you know, I draw the line at right here. I'm in favor of actually sending a letter from Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government to whoever. But then to add fear off into that, I disagree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Darren Guidry?
Did it get a second? Okay. And I did ask somebody, and I don't remember who, if it was a HUD member or what, but I asked about the window units because I saw a few of them actually on the TV report. And they said that the insurance won't allow them put any more in there. Something to do if they fall out the window, they could, so they would, you know, the insurance company wouldn't let them do that, but that would have been a great solution. And I did ask that question, so thanks, Mr. Michel.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Seeing no further lights, I have a motion by Mr. Michelle, second by Mr. Danny Bavin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible action regarding supplemental pay for parish essential workers.
I guess my question is directed mainly at Candace and Mike Toops. Well, I guess the parish president here too. But we know that the state is giving or suggesting $250 for essential workers under 50,000 and below. Other than that, that's no type of supplemental pay or anything like that that they can actually obtain. And I know we are slated to get some money, or they're saying that if we haven't gotten it, I don't know. But my question is, for our essential workers, you know, firemen, law enforcement, anything of that nature, will we be able to extend or give anything out to our essential workers locally, especially those who may not meet that threshold by the state to get that little extra 250?
So we are in the process of requesting reimbursement from CARES Act. I think that's what you were referring to as what's coming in. If we would do anything above and beyond their normal pay rate and their normal overtime, they would not give us any funding for that. Our police and our fire right now currently get state supplemental pay, which is $600 from the parish, and it's matched by the state. That's been in place for several years. That is not being reimbursed by the CARES Act either. So if we did anything above and beyond their normal overtime, their normal work, it would not be funded by the CARES Act.
Okay, so they really have some serious strenuous limitations there. That is so unfair. We don't have the ability because we strap. as far as funds.
Correct. They're not even paying, sick leave and vacation leave. Of course, they shouldn't pay that if they're not working, they're not doing, COVID. But yeah, it is very strict on what is being reimbursed by the state for this CARES Act.
Okay. Well, I see some lights up. I'll reserve my comments for later.
Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a note, the governor, out of his $1.8 billion, set aside some to go to local governments. So the money that they took to do that was the money that was going to be coming in local governments. So as far as I'm concerned, we gave the state workers that money because it was taken out of what was going to be allotted for us. Their thinking was that we weren't going to ask for enough reimbursement, therefore we weren't going to need the money. It started out at $200 million, and then they ended up taking $300 million. And then out of that, they set aside the $50 million for that. I wish that the parishes were getting something so that we could do something for all of our people. Unfortunately, the state circumvented us. They circumvented us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Dirk Gidry?
Yeah, Candace, do you know that I think it's individuals that have to file for this $250? It's not a corporation or anything like that. Can HPD, fire department, or any parish employee, can they file for this? Because I know it's something you have to do personally. It's not the government does it, or like my business doesn't do it. The individual workers have to do it.
So I don't know the details, but you are correct that it's the individual that has to apply for it. I have not looked into it to look to see who's considered essential in it. Overview, I know it was grocery store workers, restaurant workers. I'm assuming police and fire are included as an essential. Is it government employees? I don't know. But if anybody that thinks they qualify for it and they start the paperwork and they need anything from us being considered essential, I would think administration would do what we could to help them fill it out. But you are correct. It's up to the individual to apply for that $250 that was just approved.
Right. If I'm an essential worker from the parish or HPD or the fire department, I would fill it out to see what happens, because I think this is open up until September. So, I would advise maybe that any worker tries to get it, see what they can do, because they have to do it on your own, not the government doing it for you. Thank you.
Yeah, it was opened up, but it closed real quick this morning. Mr. Navy?
Candace, and I understood what you just said, and I don't know, Mr. W., you was a state rep up there for 12 years, and you have all that power. Is anything delegation-wise that we can look at and try to ask the state to revisit some of this stuff? We have Pro Temp Tanner McGee. We got some strong delegations from Terrebonne Parish up there. So, we need to advocate for our own essential workers and the people. I mean, I reserve my comments for this. We got a lot of bar people here, too. I mean, they need to, if you're going to close somebody down, you need to have money available to make sure they still can operate. So, look like some of that money that they're taking to want to give these businesses and things of that nature that already got PPP, then you're going to shut people down. Look like we should be able to, extend some of that money somewhere else, especially for our essential work and the businesses that you shutting down. So, Mr. W., I mean, from the legislative point, is there anything that possibly could happen that we can reverse that can really look better for Terrebonne Parish?
Well, Mr. Navy, unfortunately, when
Put your
when
mic
those-
on, Dory.
Is it on?
Yeah. Okay.
On? Okay, unfortunately, when those monies come down, the state is generally the local partner, and of course, the guidelines are set by the federal government on what they can and cannot do without it, and there's no direct money. Candace and myself have met numerous times. We're grabbing every available dollar through those available funds that we can get for Terrebonne Parish, and I don't see it, unless Candace sees something, we don't see anything to where where the money can go. And there's nothing legislatively you can do, because the guidelines are set down by the federal government when they distribute the money to the state.
And then the state is actually keeping a lot of millions for themselves up there too, though, but I'm not going to jump on John about that one. Thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Navy.
Yeah, there are requirements to the general public. It's not just for government employees, like Candace said, grocery store workers qualify. There's a dollar threshold. I think it's anyone making under 50,000. I don't remember all the terms. Sometimes being married to a state rep, as much as it could be a blessing, it could be a curse. So I didn't load that into my brain. I let her deal with it. But if you have any concerns or questions, call your state rep and find out. They can give you the information to point you in the right direction for that, for those to see if you qualify for that. And I guess I'll make another plug. If you're having trouble with your unemployment, call your state rep. They can help you get that going through. I know Beryl day and night has been dealing with those things. We want to make sure that you get what's rightfully yours and coming to you. So hound those state reps. That's what they're out there for.
Mr. Danny Babbitt.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback off of what Mr. Guidry said just a minute ago. Apply for anything and everything, be it individuals, businesses, whatever. It's out there. The only way, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. But if there is something out there as a bar owner, as an individual, as a frontline worker, apply for it. All they can do is tell you no. So, and it's not that hard to fill out some of these forms. So please, I urge everyone in the community to apply for as many things as you can. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further lights, I don't think there's any action to take, so we're gonna move on. Item H is discussion and possible action relative to the parish's hiring, firing, and grievance procedures, in addition to who are the members of the grievance board and how they selected. Mr. Hardy.
Yes, I had a concern about this. I've been dealing with consolidated government and city home for a number of years. And just recently, since being elected, a lot of members of a lot of people that work for the parish, and this is no particular incident, no particular person. I can actually use my personal experience that when dealing with the government. And I spoke with Mr. Toops in reference to a couple of those things, and then hiring. In reference to hiring, there's so many people that ask me the questions, well, the parish will put a job on the board. Sometimes it's 5 days, sometimes it's a 10-day waiting period, and sometimes it just stays on there for a while, and people are wondering about the job and never really understand how that process goes. The other factor about that is the firing thing. And once I go through that, I guess the conversation that we had previous, I guess you can take over from there. The firing process. The firing process seems to be a thing whereas it comes either way. A person that's unsatisfied with the job or not feeling comfortable with the person that's above them or with them. And I strongly believe that a happy person is a person that comes to work often, a person that gives high quality work, a person that, they work good with each other, and the parish would benefit from that. So sometimes that'd be a situation where the supervisor may be the person that's actually the person that have to go through the process. And I think Mr. Toops, we talked about that, and he's going to go through that point. And that the other thing about that, if there is a problem with suspensions, firing, or someone quit, then after quitting, they may want to actually have a grievance. And to bring that point up to a grievance board, how the grievance board is actually, who's on the grievance board and how it's picked. And Mr. Toops, could you explain some of that we talked about?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Harding. First, let me say, up until around 2 o'clock today, I didn't know that there was any particular problem with our hiring, firing, or grievance process. If you refer to Section 8.1, 8.2, 8.3 in the parish's personnel policy manual, which is on the intranet and available to everyone, it explains the hiring, firing, and the grievance process in writing.
In the 4.5 years I've been here, I'm aware of but 2 specific issues that went to the grievance process. In regards to the board members of the grievance board, I'm going to read from you how it's determined. It says, the board shall be appointed by the parish president as provided below and shall consist of 5 qualified electors of Terrebonne Parish who hold no other public office or position in the parish and are known to be in sympathy with merit principles of public human resources administration. 1 member shall be appointed by the parish president. 1 member shall be appointed by the parish president from a list of 3 names submitted by the president of Xavier University in New Orleans. 1 member shall be appointed by the parish president from a list of 3 names submitted by the president of the University of Southwestern Louisiana, and I'm assuming that's ULL now. 1 member shall be appointed by the parish president from a list of 3 names submitted by the president of Nicholls State University, and 1 member shall be appointed by the parish president from a list of 3 names submitted by the superintendent of schools of Terrebonne Parish. So that is how the grievance board is selected, sir.
Yes, so that board exists now. Let's say, for instance, if he has a board appointing to the housing authority, does it stand right now? Do we have any members, or just those people are called upon if there is a grievance that they get to that point? So with my understanding, as our conversation went, if there's a grievance with an individual, and let's say, for instance, a supervisor and an individual, that individual may have a grievance and write the grievance to the supervisor. That supervisor in turn writes back to that particular individual, and then with that writing back to that individual, then Mr. Ortego and the supervisor, am I correct, then y'all would actually go into a conversation in reference to the grievance before that step, then get to Mr. Toops before the grieving board?
From what I remember, Mr. Harding, and it's been a while, but the way the process works is that the employee and their supervisor have a meeting with representatives of HR, and again, I'm gonna let Mr. Ortego correct me if I'm wrong, but they have a meeting, and the supervisor makes a recommendation on whether to keep the employee on after hearing their grievance or recommend either suspension or hiring. If they recommend suspension or firing, then that employee can make an appeal to me as the parish manager. I listen to the grievance, and then I determine whether the employee has legitimate grounds for continuing to be employed by the parish, or if they are recommended to be suspended or fired. And then if the employee still doesn't agree with the recommendations, they can appeal to this board that I just mentioned to you. But again, that's what I remember, and I would like to defer to our Human Resources and Risk Management Director, Mr. Dana Ortego, who can explain the process, because he's very much more familiar with this process than I am. Mr. Ortego?
Dana Ortego, Human Resource Director, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, 826 Main Street up on the 5th floor. What was stated by Mr. Toops is fairly accurate on the process itself. He did read from the documentation as to how the board is actually put together. The board, in my 12 years that I've been here, a little bit more than 12, going on 13 or 14 years, we've only convened a total of 4, maybe 5 times with the the board itself. We do have some active members on it. The last one, we had 2 of them in 2018. I believe one gentleman has passed away since, but we have to have a minimum of 3 people to actually seat the personnel board, but we can have as many as 5. It's like, for a lack of phrasing, it's like a mini trial. Legal would be there, their legal representation would be there, a court reporter would be there, and then both sides would get a chance to make their position of the reason why this person was suspended or why this person was terminated. That person could then bring witnesses to counteract that, and then ultimately the board makes a final decision as to whether or not the action taken against the employee was correct, or they could possibly modify it if they feel that it was too harsh. In my 5 personnel board hearings, the personnel board upheld all 5 of the decisions made in the different situations that they had done.
Yeah, and I appreciate, you guys giving me a little more information with me, because I was part of 2 civil service systems, and it's handled slightly different. And I just was actually just trying to figure out to those that actually brought some cases to me, how they handle a case, you know what I mean? And sometimes, even in the workplace, you know what I mean, I think the word fear was used earlier in this council meeting, is the fact that they may have fear of reporting. And so that conversation extends itself along with the supervisor. So perhaps our question would be there is how to actually, if you have a problem with your immediate supervisor, how would you handle something like that?
The way that the process, and the new employees are told this during the new employee orientation, as well as HR is always available to answer any questions. You've called me once or twice, and I've gotten called from numerous council members. I'm happy to answer any question. We have nothing to hide. Our employees can call us if they're having a problem with their direct supervisor. We normally like to ask them, have they followed the chain of command? If you have a problem with your immediate supervisor, then what you may want to do is go to his supervisor and discuss it with them and proceed that way. At times, in the last 12, 13 years, I've actually got involved because they felt that maybe the department head and the supervisor that this employee was having trouble with are too close. And so we did like a little investigation and assisted the employees and tried to, for lack of better words, mediate or try to help solve the problem and maybe get over, just looking at it in one way and trying to help it out. So I'm always available, and my staff is always available to help the employee if they feel that the word fear, or they have a low issue. And like I said, I would simply ask, though, the first question I would ask is, have you followed the chain of command and gone to your boss's boss and tried to resolve this matter, or at least make that person aware that, you're catching some situation with your immediate supervisor.
And yes, I spoke to Mr. Tewson, and I thank you. You were out of town, and I had a situation, and we conversated about it.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes we have to put that information out there, completing that circle that we have to do to let our employees know the fact that they have things in place. And a lot of this is depending upon their knowledge of it and their ability or their will to act upon it. And so that's what we're trying to, not just sit here and just make a whole bunch of mess. They have rights and they have those privileges, but they have to get into the things and to the rules and regulations and understand those. There's something in place, and I'm glad I'm putting it out there for those that are watching and those that have an understanding that, this is what we're trying to do. Cover up some areas that we haven't been covering before, and have the knowledge go out there to all the employees, knowing that they're being protected with their jobs. Thank you.
And again, Mr. Harding, if any employee that would happen to contact you or any other council member, if they have any issues whatsoever, please tell them to give me a call. I'm there, except on vacation, but I'm there, and my staff is there and available to answer questions. The internet is available. It has all of our policy on the internet. They can actually go, if necessary, once we open up and get to the proper phases, we can, maybe send them an email copy of it if they have an issue or they have a specific question. We'll gladly address that for them. That's not a problem. Going back to your hiring situation, everything is posted on the board. Right now, we're in a hiring freeze except for 3 essential personnel that we're trying to fill. But once we open it up, you were asking about 3, 5, 7. If it's 3 days, then there's probably someone who is stepping up from a laborer to a supervisory or a crew chief or something along that line. So that's why it stays open 3 days. But most of the time, it's a minimum of 3 days. It has to stay open and advertised to everyone. But most of the time, it's until closed, or it's usually for usually 20 to 30 days is what it is. Applications come in, they're sent to the departments review them, they select who they want to, they interview them, and then the process comes back to us saying, hey, I would like X, Y, Z, and then we get all the necessary signatures from the CFO and the parish manager and the president, and we proceed on with that in the hiring process. Okay?
Yes, Mr. Howard? Mr. Navy?
Yeah, I'm curious about something. I'm glad Mr. Harding put this on. I'm in school now to get my PhD in public policy, so I have a couple of questions I want to ask because I highlighted some things that you said, and I looked into the manual myself. On the hiring process, we advertise publicly to hire.
Yes,
But
sir.
yet, we hire in-house. Okay, wait, let me finish. When I was with the state, we had a process with the state years ago implemented where you advertise, but you advertise that you hire an in-house. We tend, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but this predates you, by the way. We tend to be misleading in a sense that we advertise to the public, but our intent is hire in-house. So why we advertise positions that we know we're going to hire in-house or someone's going to move up to a particular position or whatever? And whether we admit that or not, that is happening. But I'm just asking why we don't have any policies in place to redirect that, where if we're going to hire or advance in-house, then we should have a policy in reference to that. Because I've got a lot of complaints when people say, oh, I got an interview, but they hired a person already with the parish. So can you, and I got a couple of more, but can you explain that one so I can get a better understanding of that one?
We don't necessarily hire inside all the time. We open it up a minimum of 3 days. Most of the time, it lasts longer than that because what happens is we accept applications. We send all the applications that come in to that department to try to fill that position with the best available applicant.
But I can assure you those 3 days and those to the end of the year are different hirees.
No, you're absolutely correct. Most of the times, the ones that open to the end of the years are for laborers or possibly for bus drivers, because we have a tendency to turn over on bus drivers and certain other type positions.
We really need to look at that particular policy. The other aspect of it I was looking at too, I have jotted some notes here. How do we select who actually get interviewed for a job?
The individual department, every Monday, all applicants that come in for the whole week, the applications are sent to that department. That department who is looking for that particular position looks through all the applications. Then they select whom they would like to interview. Sometimes they call us and they ask us, can we assist them with the interview process, or can we help them with the selection of the applicants? We don't do anything. We send them all the applications. That department looks through the applications, they rank them, and then they try to set up the depositions to fill their position.
So what system do they use to rank who is qualified?
We normally we look at the job description, and we look at the application that comes in. It usually has a resume attached to it, and we see if they meet at least the minimum requirements for that particular position that is open, and we send those applications to the department, and that department knows when they get the application, they meet the either education requirements or work requirements or things such as that, and then they look at all of the applications and the resumes they have, and then they make the decision as to whom they would like to interview.
So we don't have a rating system to rate? We
No,
can't
no,
go
sir.
back and say, this is why you got an interview, and this is why you didn't get an interview. I think we need to revisit that policy too. And that goes back to the other aspect of it as far as transfer, in-house transfer. Do we have a particular policy for that? If employees want to transfer into another position?
We call that a letter of interest. If there's a position that becomes available, example, you're a truck driver in drainage, and there's a truck driving position that comes open in the landfill. If you qualify with a CDL or whatever, you can fill out a letter of interest. That means that the landfill who's looking to fill a position knows that you work for the government, that you are CDL and you meet the requirements, and they send the letter of interest with a new application for that particular position. So that's kind of like a transfer.
Okay. Mr. Odegaard, I would just ask, out of just kindness, that the first two issues that I mentioned, please look at that particular policies for that your in-house situation, how you advertise to the public. I've gotten so many complaints about it, and I'd say that predates you. And the other aspect of it is, please look at the process on who's qualified or being quantified to actually make that decision on who gets an interview. If we're depending on the process of department heads, that could actually eliminate people that's really qualified that's not getting interviews. I'm just bringing that up to your attention.
Not a problem. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, seeing no further lights, Mr. Harding, you taking any kind of action or just discussion? Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to staff reports, update on drainage pumps, stations, generators, and other projects. Mr. Toops.
Thank you, Councilman, Chairman Trustclair. Can we put up the slides for the Bayou Sports complex? Before I get into the pump report, President Dove was supposed to give this presentation, but at the last minute he had to leave, and so he kind of got me off guard, and he asked me to give this presentation. So please know that I'm giving it with very little formal background, but as he told everybody at Monday's council committee meeting, he has a plan in place to staff the Bayou Country Sportsplex with the staff here at the Civic Center headed by Director Dean Schwess. Just to go through a couple of slides. This is the softball field pod at the Bayou Sportsplex. It's hard to make out in the pictures, but this picture was taken before the lights were put up. This is completed and is in operation. This is the baseball pod, and it's a little behind in construction, but the lights for the baseball pod is going out for bid in the near future. The softball complex is in the background. The next is the baseball fields and some of the soccer fields. If you look down at the bottom, that's the Valhalla extender road that was just completed. And this is some of the background information on the Bayou Country Sports Park. We've put thus far a total of $1.3 million in total investment, $1.1 million in recreation $2-3, $250,000 in land and water conservation fund grant dollars. They're in the process of putting out a 13,000 square foot Louisiana themed splash park. There'll be kayaking and canoe beach as part of the big pond. There'll be a 3rd-mile walking track, which is as part of this new project. They plan on stocking the pond with fish so that people can fish. So it's a very multi-use complex. This is the soccer concession stand right in the middle of all the soccer fields. This was a Terrebonne Parish sponsored project. If you notice to the right, that's the handicap parking, and the little triangular piece is the sidewalk for handicapped access. This is a little close-up of the soccer concession stand, but again, this project has been completed. As I said before, this is the road to Valhalla Boulevard. This project was just recently completed. And as President Dove said, there are numerous economic impacts involved with the Bayou Sports Park. We can put on tournaments and events. We can get local sponsors to give naming rights, sponsorships with advertising at the various venues, concession sales, and local rentals. And that's what I just spoke on. This is a slide from a 3-year estimate. They're hoping to put on up to 30 tournaments, up to 1,000 players per tournament. In addition to the players, you have parents and family. Usually the tournaments last a total of 3 days, and it's a multitude of sports: softball, baseball, soccer, and those are the 3 big ones at the present time. We compared our sports parks to the Youngsville sports park that's in progress, and we hope to mimic what they're doing in Youngsville. The last slide shows some of the projected budget comparisons, revenue from sponsorships, tournament fees, rental fees, concession fees, versus some of the expenditures. And again, I'm not really qualified to talk about the details. If you have any questions, I would suggest that you refer them to Parish President Dove or to Mr. Dean Schwest at the Civic Center. So again, I apologize. I had very little time to prepare for this presentation. I'm going to move on now to the pump and drainage report project, which you were all handed a copy of earlier. On the first 3 on your report all have to do with new pumps being installed along St. Louis Canal. The first 2 are at Cavernous Drive and Westview Drive. Energy is scheduled to put the electrical service to those 2 pump facilities this coming Monday. Shockwave is going to be installing the electrical panels this coming Tuesday, and we're waiting on quotes on 2 contractors for installation of the security fencing around the pump and the power pack for the pumps. At Westside Boulevard, our in-house team started the fabrication of the steel sump for the 30-inch pump, and Public Works looked at various locations where it would be the optimal location to locate this pump station. We decided on a piece of property right next to Westside Boulevard, but in checking into it, we wasn't sure if we owned the property as originally thought. So we're doing our due diligence, and we're checking servitudes for the actual location of the pump and the access road to the pump station. Next on the report is Plantation Gardens. That pump had a hydraulic problem, so we removed the hydraulic pump and hydraulic motor. It was sent to Associated Pump, who's the local distributor and agent for the pumps. They've ordered the hydraulic parts, they've come in, and they're in the process of making the repairs. We have installed a portable pump to service this location until the hydraulic pump is repaired and put back in place. On D4 Lashbrook, all 3 pumps are back in operation. We did note that in checking, pump number 3 is going to need some work. Any of you who know Norman Porsche, Norman has been a long-time parish employee. He knows these pumps like the back of his hand, and he was watching the discharge on pump number 3, and he said, you know, something's not right. It's not putting out like it's supposed to. So we're going to take that pump out whenever we can get a crane, and we're going to check it out. The Woodlawn Station pump, we changed the gearbox. That project is completed. On D13 Industrial Pump Station, that pump station presently has 148 and 336 diesel pumps. We just recently cleaned out the sump and the discharge ditch from the pump station all the way to the Industrial Boulevard Bridge. We cleaned all the trash out, we dug it out, and it's clean. Norris and Bruder are presently repairing the bar screen that catches the majority of the trash before it gets to the pump station. Norris and Boudreaux also brought their long-reach disc excavator so that they can complete the cleaning of the section of the ditch from the Industrial Boulevard Bridge to the cement ditch, which is on the opposite side of Industrial Boulevard from the pump station. We've ordered sheet piles. Norris and Boudreaux are scheduled to put the sheet piles in for the foundation for the pump station. And we did receive a 42-inch diameter diesel over hydraulic pump. It has been delivered. It's at Associated Pump, and Associated Pump is going through it, testing it, and commissioning it so that we can install it and not have any problems when we go to do the startup. Norris and Boudreaux is also going to put a pipe plug in the culvert so that we can install an automated actuator for the gravity control gate. On Learett Street, we had to remove one of the pumps so that we could clean the sump out. That pump has been reinstalled. That project is complete. At Gator Court, we have one of 2 pumps has a small hydraulic leak, so we shut it down and we will have it pulled for maintenance. D73 Suzy Canal, we have 2 24-inch diesel over hydraulic pumps. One pump is presently in the reassembly stage and is scheduled to be installed next week, again pending the availability of the crane. On the Montague levee lift, that project is ongoing and we are still hauling dirt. We have some portable pumps in the Gibson Bayou Black area to help with the backwater flooding issue. The first 3 items were on the previous report. We did add another pump at Old Spanish Trail. It's an 8-inch portable pump. It puts out a total of 3,000 gallons per minute. Again, that's to help the whole Chackahoola Basin with the backwater flooding. But the good thing is that the water levels are going down in the intercoastal, and the whole basin is pretty much draining itself. Next is the emergency generator report, and all emergency generators were test run as of yesterday. There were no issues found, and everything is working normal. That completes my report unless anyone has any questions to ask.
We have a light. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I don't really have a question, Mike, and I know it was unfair because it was dropped on you at the last minute because President Dove had to leave. But when we talk about the sports park and we talk about completions, the sports park is a fluid thing. It grows onto itself. And I think we're going to see more growth in it now. We have to compare it to other facilities around the state. The thing we have to remember here is we're not encumbered with any debt on the sports park here. Everything we have there is paid for. These other sports parks throughout the state cannot say that. They're encumbered with long-term debt to pay for them. We only bill and add to the park as monies become available to do so. So I think that's important for the public to know that there is no finish on the park because we want to constantly add to it over the next 10, 15, 20 years. So again, it is unencumbered with any debt at all. Thank you.
Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see Mr. Dean stepped up to the mic. I was going to call him up. I know that he's been working on some of this stuff, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity, Mr. Schwest, to add any other comments, because I know Mr. Mike was kind of put on the spot, and you might be able to elaborate a little bit more on how this is looking, how it's coming together, what it's taken to put it together, all the parties involved, and
Absolutely.
Our outlook.
Yeah, give me a sec. So yeah, these are actually some slides that I had my team put together to give y'all a little better proposal of what the direction that we're looking to go with the facility. So point Mr. Babin made is that it's not finished, but we believe it's at a part where it needs to go to the next stage. There's still a lot to build, but it's got enough done to it that we could actually start to utilize it and sell it and market it. So I was approached about kind of taking the direction of that, and it really fits real well because you can see here, this is my marketing director and my marketing coordinator here at the Civic Center, and both Scott and Rachel both have a huge background in recreation. Scott was LSU's recreation marketing assistant director, and a couple other things as well. Rachel grew up in the softball world here in Terrebonne Parish. She's coached teams here. She's got a lot of relationships with the directors around. So I believe the two together are going to be a perfect fit, one in the marketing end, one with the relationships that can put this together. So basically what we're going to come back and understand this is very preliminary. Mr. Dove wanted me to make sure y'all understood this is in the early stages of us moving in that direction. But it's time to start to market the facility so we can start to put some money in and put more money back into it. So I would love all the council's input on this. If y'all have an opinion, y'all have a question, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, Mr. Dove and I plan to come back possibly in 2 weeks with a finalized proposal to show you exactly where we at. But for example, you know, these are basically the areas that we can move. The economic impact of this place can be phenomenal. I mean, I did research and had my 2 team members do research on 14 facilities on the Gulf Coast. And these facilities are bringing over $1 million a month worth of economic impact to their communities. So will we be there in our first year? No, but the gold mine is sitting out there and off of 311 in Valhalla, and that's going to make a huge difference. And I believe that's why this is a perfect fit for mirroring what the Civic Center is doing as well. So I can sell both of them at the same time. We can advertise both of them at the same time. We have a platform already. We have over 40,000 followers just with the Civic Center's website, so we can just kind of pattern that on straight over. So it's going to be a simple, very easy deal. The tournaments, they'll bring in a lot of tournament revenue as far as rentals and that kind of stuff, and I'll show you on the last slide how much. but it's a small portion when you start factoring in sponsorships and economic development. And then, of course, that's what I'm talking about, the naming rights and the sponsorship, that's big. And then there's some concession sales as well. So what we have to try and figure out is the pieces, where we at, so it fits all the parts as it grows, as we start to finalize the baseball field, as we get the soccer, because the next project wasn't discussed and it's not in the slides, but I want everybody to notice. I think Mr. Tanner appropriated some money with the rest of the delegates to put some lights at the soccer fields and do some more work on the soccer fields as well, so we'll be able to do some work there. This was a sample of what Youngsville's reporting. It was their third year, and they were having 400,000 people attend this facility. They were averaging 30 tournaments into their third year. They started 25 a year. Their third year, they bumped up to 30. And just with 30 tournaments a year, they were putting 1,000 players, 2.5 people with the players. So you're talking about, 3 to 5 people per person that's playing in these things, and that's where they're getting the numbers that they're coming from. And places like Ruston's claiming $1.2 billion in 20 years worth of economic impact. So that's where it's huge, and that's why we need to step to the next level. This is the numbers I was talking about. If we look at naming rights and sponsorships that's available in the facility as it speaks right now, we could probably come up with a total of $480,000 worth of sponsorships if we can start selling these things. Now, we're not going to fully sell it quickly, but it's there. And now's the perfect time for it, actually, because right now is when businesses are working on their budget for 2021. If we wait till January to make this proposal, we'll have to wait a whole nother year to actually start looking for some of these monies. So now's going to be the perfect time to start putting this on the ground and talking to these businesses to do this kind of stuff. You can see, the tournaments, it's bringing in about $60,000 to $80,000 worth of tournament with the rentals of the fields. Concessions about the same, but the big money that you're going to see is going to be from sponsorships. The big money you're not going to see on paper is going to be from economic development. So again, I want everybody's input. Mr. Dove wants everybody's input. We're going to do this together. And either the next meeting in 2 weeks or definitely within a month, we're going to have a total final proposal handed to y'all to show y'all exactly where the longevity is. But I would love to have any questions right now.
And 2-3 got us as 4. So they still have some recreational aspects of the park out there. I assume that we're still in, you say this is preliminary, so I'm assuming we're still talking with them, or we'll be talking with them to work out all the logistics.
Absolutely. I actually had a meeting with 2-3 last Thursday, sat down with them for hours, just trying to pick their brain to see how the pieces come together, because the parts of the park that 2-3 has in this facility that's for the community is a huge selling point for the rest of the sports complex as well, and vice versa. The sports complex is a useful unit for Rec 2-3. So I mean, the two definitely. I'm working very well with them. They seem like that they understand that this is good, and nobody's being pulled out at all. It's totally going to be a group effort.
Yeah, the thing I would like to see in the future is people focus on it as a sports complex, but with the recreational aspects of it, I'd like to see this being looked upon like a mini city park of New Orleans, because I run up there a lot of times. So we need to look at not just what's going to attract teams in sports tournaments, but also what's going to bring in people from the community. I'd like to draw people from Morgan City, Lafourche Parish, and so on, that they can come out and enjoy the facility as well, because when they come out, they spend more money in the parish, which then helps us as well. So I thank you for the work that you're doing on that, and I commend 2-3 on getting us this far. Thank you.
Ms. Domingue?
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Sweston. Thank you for all the work that you guys are doing, and thanks to 2-3 as well for all the work that they've been doing as well. I definitely look forward to your plan, and I hope to be able to meet with you guys in the next few weeks. And I have very specific questions, but I'm going to wait until after your presentation in a few weeks. But I do have one question for today. I know you're a very, very busy man with this and with, now this new endeavor. Are you still going to have time to make jambalaya?
I'll have to watch the calendar close.
Thank you, Mrs. Swift.
No, thank you.
Mr. Dirk Gidry?
Yeah, I think it's a great deal. The sports park brings a lot of economic value to Terrebonne Parish, and it introduces people from outside of Terrebonne Parish to the lifestyle of Terrebonne Parish. But the most impressive thing I see on this whole deal is when you go to expenditures right here, and you see salaries at Youngsville at $544,000 for staff to work this, and when you come over to Bayou Country Sportsplex, you get a zero.
Right. And
You
let me
know?
tell you, the two biggest numbers in looking at all, I had 4 or 5 other budgets, and I broke them down just to this. They were a lot longer than that, of course, but no one would have been able to see them, and it would have been forever to read them. But the two biggest numbers in most facilities was salaries and the paying of growth of the park, which Mr. Babin explained, we don't have that. We don't have to pay a bond back like other facilities have. And that was the two biggest numbers, that almost all of these other facilities were in the red. They were $1 million to $1.5 million in the red because of those two numbers. We're in a situation where we don't have those two numbers, because my team's excited about taking this on because we believe it fits. It's going to make us busier, of course. We're going to have a lot more workload on us. But when we're out there trying to advertise for something for the Civic Center, it's a great carrot to be able to tell them what's going on at the sportsplex. And vice versa. When we're out there talking to tournaments and trying to get them to bring them to Houma, why do they want to bring them in Houma? Well, it just so happened the same weekend at the Civic Center is the craft show. Or there's a Kids Day. Man, why do you want to bring your kids down here? We got Kids Day the same weekend. So with us as a team being able to do this versus different individual teams doing this, they're only working on their project. By doing this is a total parish endeavor. I mean, if it gets bigger than this, I mean, if we reach out to different groups and we ask for a tournament down here and it's too big for the complex, we know we have other facilities in the parish that we could use. We could fall over into Legion, or if it's an adult softball league that wants to do a tournament down here, we know we have something, on the east side of town that's an adult softball park. So we won't be just selling this complex. We're going to be selling Terrebonne Parish to all sports and whatever fits in that mold. We have the tennis courts. They're not at the complex, but if we can work on the tennis championship, we have tennis courts right there at Renaissance that we could use just as well.
Yeah, because you see, I think this was done on the first term that I was a councilman, and that's what the major thing was to bring tourism from people outside of Terrebonne Parish, because people from outside of Terrebonne Parish pay 41% of our sales tax in Terrebonne Parish. So the more we bring in here, the better it would be. But with this $544,000 that around that figure that you would be saving, that's $544,000 more that we can put into the park. And like Mr. Babin said earlier, the park is never finished, it's always growing. So in 10 years, we're putting $5 million more just by saving monies on salaries. So, I mean, this looks like a pretty slick deal if you can keep this salaries down, you know what I mean, and not have to add more people. But if you have to add more people to control that means we're making more money.
Absolutely.
And the
That's
one
the
that'd be
mindset.
happy the most out of this is Miss Melvin, because she saves $544,000. So,
Right.
but it's a good deal if we can work this out. It's a good deal not only for our kids and adults that do sports in Terrebonne Parish, but to bring economic development into the parish, because I think that's something that we've been lacking for a long time, is bringing recreation into Terrebonne Parish and new businesses into Terrebonne Parish, where our tax base can grow and our communities can grow in people, So it all goes along with when we talked earlier about the lock system at Boudreaux Canal, the quality of life deals that we bring to Terrebonne Parish, it just strengthens our parish. So, whatever else you can do for that, I surely appreciate it, and thank you a lot for what you do.
We all one team.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. And Dean, add Montague and Bergen to those on and on teams.
We'll see if I got something down there. I don't know. Maybe canoe races or something.
Ms. Toops, you still have your light on?
Yes, sir. One thing I wanted to add, and it's obvious, it just makes common sense to have Dean and his staff manage this, because, they are a proven commodity. Dean has a business manager. We have the ability to take ticket sales via credit cards. We have an agreement with Ticketmaster, and he's used to doing cash sales. He has several marketing people that can market it, and he has people that can go out and get local sponsorships. The only thing that we're working out, and as President Dove alluded to at Monday's meeting, was how are we going to work it out with Reg 23 as far as the maintenance of the fields, and that's coming in, and it's in the works. But again, this is all, as Dean said, it's all very in the preliminary stages. We wanted to let you know what we have planned, and any recommendations or suggestions, we'd be glad to listen to it. But we feel this is a logical way to manage the selling of the sports park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toops. Seeing no further lights, Mr. Schwess, you done?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Very good presentation.
Thank y'all.
Okay, moving on to public wishing to address the council. I have several speaker cards here, and I just want to remind everyone they have a 3-minute time limit. And being we have so many speaker cards, I want to ask you guys if what you say has already been said, we don't need to hear it 4 or 5 different or 7 or 8 different times. Just kind of keep it straight to the point, and you know, we definitely want to hear what you got to say, but we don't need to hear the same thing over and over and over. So remember, 3 minutes, and the first card is Mr. Lenny Swiderski, and if I'm asking your name, I apologize. State your name and address, please.
Is it on?
Put your, President, there you go. Wait, I don't think your mic's on still. Pull the mic down, baby, if you, there you go.
Okay, my name's Lenny Swiderski. I own Lenny's on Corporate Drive. I don't often come here. I think the last time was about 20 years ago. But shutting down all the clubs, all the bar rooms, I thought I'd come speak since nobody else is speaking for us. I had a little story I wanted to tell, but I think the main problem is it's easy to close down the bars. Yeah, shut down the bars, they're nothing. But we're actually small businesses, and when they shut down my bar for the second time, I had to lay off 25 people. That's 25 people with families. Most of them have kids. Most of them don't have a job right now. So I guess on to my story, but when I was listening to Parish President, something really struck me. When he was talking about the drainage, he said that the $10 million, the $10 million, the $50 million, the $430 million, he said the Terrebonne Parish Council paid for this. Now, he did correct himself. He said the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish paid for it, which, if you let all these businesses just go out of business, that's a lot of taxpayer dollars. Mr. Harding, that the parks that you want to get funded, not without all these businesses going under. A lot of small businesses. Mr. Mitchell, your $6 million you need or $8 million for your air conditioners, you let all these small businesses go out of business. It's going to be a lot harder to hustle up that $8 million. But on to my story would be, on the 26th, we had a COVID confirmed positive case. It was right when all the kids came back from their senior trip. So everything kind of fell into place, and we also had a few other employees get sick. So on the 26th, we shut down. We shut down for 2 weeks, let all of our employees go quarantine for 2 weeks. We had Jan King come in and spray the place. We did all the COVID cleaning. We did everything responsible that needed to be responsible. As a small business, as a responsible small business, we didn't need the Board of Health to come tell us to close down. We didn't need the parish council here to tell us to close down. we darn sure didn't need Governor Edwards to come tell us to close down. As a responsible business who cares about our employees, who cares about our patrons, who cares about our parish, who cares about our community, we shut down. Nobody asked us to shut down. That's what responsible businesses do. Now, to be picked out by the governor, just say close down all the bars with none. There's zero evidence that the bars are spreading.
Hold up. We have a motion by Mr. Navy, second by Mr. Guidry to extend. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, you got another 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. So with no evidence to close down the bars, what we're asking for is, I'm sure the parish president, Gordy Dove's got Governor Edwards on speed dial. I'm sure you all know our representatives who you could make an extra phone call and call for us to just be picked out, because the best I can figure is 30 LSU players somewhere in Baton Rouge got the COVID at a club, so now we shut down all the clubs. It just doesn't seem fair, and we're just looking for a voice. We're just asking. As you can see, a bunch of our employees showed up, a bunch of the other bar owners or small business owners showed up, and we're just asking for a little bit of help from you guys. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. James Billiard.
How y'all doing? I'm
Name
Jamie
and address,
Billiard.
please. Okay.
I'm Jamie Billiard. I'm here. I'm a promoter of an Indian tribal government enterprise, but also I'm heavily involved with the arts and entertainment, the seafood, and culture. For the past over 35 years, I've worked in bars. We've endured. First, I guess I'm here to show comedy and respect for you guys, because thank y'all for y'all patience and y'all perseverance and everything that y'all are doing, because it's going to take us to come together. We had that BP oil spill, and the tribal community came together along with the parish, and we all worked together. This is no different than the BP oil spill. This is something that we all going to have to endure. This is something that we all have to overcome. A lot of businesses are being affected by it. A lot of people, most importantly, our health. So I'm not a doctor. Did I catch it? I don't know. Possibly. I felt ill for a day. I'm back, you know. Some people don't have an immune system to handle what we're going through. But again, I'm not here to gripe or complain. I do believe that everyone here is doing a great job. So I respect Mr. Lenny for his words, because they really hit the point, you know. We can't just go shut down businesses, because we are going to shut down our economy. I'm here for economic development, not political destruction. So whatever we could do together to help our community, arts and entertainment, culture, I'm here. And also, I don't know if Mr. Dean is here, but I want to commend him on all his work he does also, because I think it's a good job. Whatever we could do for our arts and entertainment, you know, shutting down the bars is not going to help, you know. So whatever I could do, I just wanted to say also good job, y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Billiard. Mr. Rodney Corvin. State your name and address, please.
Rodney Corbin, 611 Columbus Street, Homer. I'm the owner of Jazz Blues and Bayous, downtown Homer, 7803 Main Street. Just wondering if the council aware of, the Attorney General had posted this afternoon against the governor shutting down the bars. I don't know if y'all are aware of it, but he said it's very, posted that the bars closure, he asked that it not be enforced. He says it's unconstitutional. He says it's unenforceable. And us as bar owners, that's all we're looking for. I mean, we here in Terrebonne Parish, we pay taxes to Terrebonne Parish. I mean, we get permits from y'all. I mean, with us closed, we can't do nothing. We ain't making no money. Nobody coming in, nothing happening. It's not your fault. I understand that. It was handed down by the governor. As the sheriff said Monday night up in here, it was a mandate. A mandate is not a law, okay? I'm a retired Army Sergeant Major. I've been in the Army 35 years, back and forth. here. I'm born and raised in Homer, so I can let y'all know. I also worked at the Pentagon for a few years. I worked with Hunt Downer down in New Orleans. I worked at the FBI unit a couple years. I got friends everywhere. But at the same token, this what's going on. Like I say, President Dub, I know it's out of your control because you are the parish president. But at the same token, we was asking as bar owners, since it not be a mandate, if some of these guys were supposed to open. I passed last night on Main Street. We got calls from the Bingo Hall all the way to the courthouse. Got more people in the courthouse, and in the Bingo Hall we gonna have in our club. What's the difference? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But like you said, it was a mandate. But in the law, a mandate is not a law. Just was put down by the governor. It's your parish. We paying you taxes. We're not trying to put any heat on you, but we would love for you to work with us if you could. As bar owners, Mr. Lenny and a few others that's downtown. Also, you know, I wanted to bring up too, when you dressed up downtown, it worked good for us. We had a lot of business, and we would like, if you can, if the parish would do that again after this academic is over. I mean, it's good for business. More money we make, more taxes we got to pay upstairs on the 5th floor. That's all I had to say. Thank you,
Mr. Carver. Mitchell Sargent.
He left. He had to go get his son.
Dale Lede. State your name and address, please.
Parish President, Council Chair, Council, Public. My name's Dale Lede. My wife and I, Candia, own LaRussa's Lounge at 8510 Main Street. We took over the place on the 6th of March. We were able to open up for a total of 9 days when we were shut down for the first time. We took over the place as managers, so therefore we didn't have any paperwork in our name until we applied to the parish, applied to the state, and now we're working on our gaming license. Going through the rigmarole of trying to get with a bank because we couldn't apply for the PPE. We didn't even have a bank yet. We were shut down for 73 days, and then we were able to open back up. Those bills never stopped. Those bills kept coming in for those 73 days with no income. We took that on our shoulders. We were excited, able to open back up for a month and 3 days or so, and then we shut down again on a mandate, not a law. And now today I find out the Attorney General stating his opinion. Short of doing legal action, I don't know what more to do other than to come to you guys and look for some representation in this. All these bar owners here, we pay a lot of taxes amongst all the bars in Terrebonne Parish. That needs to be looked at. I think Dirk had mentioned how much recreation brings in. Councilman Harding was talking about being hogtied. We're hogtied now, and we need some help. We need some representation to where we can move forward through this crisis. I don't know what the answer is, but we're coming to y'all looking for a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. Myron LaBeouf. Myron, you speaking on drainage?
Yes.
Okay, would you hold off a second? I think we got some lights regarding the, this last topic. You want to go? You got a light? Mr. Davey? Oh, you were first? Okay. Huh?
Yes. And like I said earlier, I really sympathize with the situation. And just like I was mentioned by the essential workers and the state representatives that do have definitely more authority than the parish council, I really believe that with these PPP loans that I know a lot of people have gotten in Terrebonne Parish, and unfortunately you all are shut down, that money that they talking about the state have right now, they should actually compensate. That should go to you all. A lot of that money should go to you all if they're shutting y'all down. It shouldn't be a process that you got to go through. If you shut somebody down, you know what their revenues are, you should compensate those people. I think you all should, the businesses that are shut down, you all should get the money before anybody else in Terrebonne Parish. That's the way I feel about it, okay? Now, Mr. Dove and them probably can make those kind of calls and try to legislate or something where, from the state perspective, these businesses that you order to shut down, especially these bars, compensate them. Not no up to 15,000. Give them the worth of what you all are actually shutting down for. And that's my opinion on it. As far as the governor's order, I'll be honest with you, that's something beyond us. We're not going to go against the governor's order, okay, no matter what the situation is, because there are situations where it depends upon who's making a mandate or who's making a law, whether we agree or disagree. But at the end of the day, it is a governor's order. Now, Mr. Dove may say he wants to, I don't know, I can't speak for Mr. Dove, but I can say this. We need to do something to compensate you all immediately since they shut you all down. There's money available, and that's something that needs to come to you all before anybody else. Because all the other businesses that got PPPs and everything else, they still operating. You all don't have that advantage. So I support what you all are doing as a business owner myself, but something should come to you all now, not later. Now, maybe that's something that Mr. Dove could get with the representatives to do to make sure something like that can happen. So I'm just here to let you know, support you on that, but as far as the governor's order, that is the governor's order. Thank you.
Ms. Domingue?
Yes, and thank you guys for all coming here and speaking about this issue. And I feel for you, I do, and I feel for your workers, and I know this is tough, and this is tough for everybody. I think each and every one of us have felt the impact of this crisis. And I personally believe that there should be a way that you guys can reopen in a way that's safe, that you can have safety measures in place, like you said. I can't find the gentleman, but you know, you had a worker that tested positive. You closed, you did the right thing, you cleaned, you reopened. That's what we want to see in this new normal, and to get back to the way things should be. That's how we should move forward. And there's a lot of you guys here today, but I would imagine if you guys got together with other bar owners around the state and went to the Capitol, I bet your voice would be heard then. So I would encourage you guys, possibly you can get together and do something there. And as Mr. Navy said, we as a council, we have to go by what the governor says. But you know, anything that we can do to help you move forward, just please let us know.
Thank you, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Michel?
And I thank y'all for coming in, guys. You know, I feel for y'all. It's a problem, and obviously this is a huge problem. It goes beyond just the bars. What I'd like to see, what I would have preferred to have seen happen, is to allow the bars to stay open in a similar manner as the restaurants. You can't have the entire bar open where people congregate all there at one time, but why not have tables separated in a manner that encourages social distance amongst people who don't live with each other, and the same limits as far as the percent of the fire marshal's capacity limits that everybody else has. Seems like that would solve the problem, but of course it would have to be enforced. So to just shut y'all down, I agree with you. I think it's unfair. But as has been said 4 times already, it's the governor's decision, but I hope somebody's listening and maybe can do something to make it a little bit more equitable for the bar owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Derek Guidry?
Yeah, as a small business owner, I feel for you guys, because whoever owns this business, if you're a great businessman and you think about your people, you really don't think about yourself as much as you think about your employees, But how can we put a mandate on ballrooms and not put a mandate on bingo games, or put a mandate on Applebee's bar selling beer? You know what I mean? It's not fair to you guys. It's really not fair. There should be something, and I read that same thing, that this mandate is not really legal. You can go against it. You know what I mean? I don't know if somebody wants to have the canoes or whatever to try it and see what happens. You know what I mean? Maybe one bar can do it and everybody else can, hey, if you go to jail, we're going to go get you out of jail, But it's not fair. As a small business owner and the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish, it's not really fair to you guys. So, I mean, it's the state, it's not anybody up here that came down and doing it. Now, only thing we could do, is send a letter to the state, saying that we disagree with the decision they made, to shut down ballrooms and casinos. I forgot about casinos. You can have open casinos, you know what I mean? So tell me what's the difference? You know, there is no difference. You guys are small business owners, these are small business owners. So why pick on bar owners? You know, you can go to Grand Isle, you can have a big old party on the beach, you can do this, you can do that, but they're picking on you guys, you know? It's really not right because this is your livelihood. And like the gentleman said that he didn't get no PPP money, you know what I mean? That's hard to go for 70-something days and pay money out of your pockets, you know? As a small business owner, when you gotta start paying, you gotta start paying insurance, you gotta pay lights, you gotta pay workman's comp, you gotta pay unemployment insurance, you gotta pay all these payments, you know? It adds up, you know what I mean? And at the end of the month, it brings you to tears because you don't know where you're gonna go and find this money. And all you wanna do in life, all you wanna do is work. And they're taking that opportunity for you to work and make a living and provide for your families away. I think it's very unfair. Thank y'all, guys. I don't know what I can do for y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Darren Guidry.
You know, when my kids were young, they would look up to me and think that I knew everything because I was their dad. They didn't know I was just kind of winging it as I went. Sometimes we look at government the same way. We think government really knows what they're doing, and sometimes they're just kind of winging it. You know, and this is, I think, a clear example of kind of winging it. You know, people ask me in recreation, why are the playgrounds closed but the swimming pool's open? You know, who makes these decisions? And I can tell you, they're winging it. You know, there's got to be a safe way that you guys can operate that you don't have to close. But somebody is picking and choosing. How they're picking and choosing, I don't know. I have a feeling whoever is the loudest lobbyist probably gets the ones who get to stay open, and probably the ones with the weakest lobby tends to be the ones that, oh, you're going to get to close. You know, going to Baton Rouge, I think, would help. I think what Mr. Navy said as far as compensation's great, but I know that's not what you guys want. You know, I spoke to you guys out there. You want to make the money. You know, you don't want to, you know, somebody to bail you out or take care of you. You know, you want to earn it just like everybody, you know, every other red-blooded American. And you should be allowed to do that in a safe way. You know, they need to tell you how to operate safely, not just say, oh, well, we're going to close it and this. You know, I disagree with the way it is being done as far as just winging it. And I think it's because it's new to them. They don't know what they're doing. And, you know, they're kind of like I was when I had my first child, just kind of winging it. You know, I think they're making mistakes. And unfortunately, I think you guys are suffering because they're not giving you a safe way to open. And for that, I apologize. And if I can do anything I will. You know, I'm the last one they listen to in Baton Rouge in this administration. But, hey, anything I can do, I will. There's got to be a way that you guys can operate safely. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Darren Guidry. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, you know, I kind of want to echo what Mr. Dirk Guidry said. I find this to be very hypocritical, the way they're doing this. How can they pick and choose certain ones and not others, okay? Dirk's point was well taken. You know, you can go to a bingo parlor, or you can go to, I think you used Applebee's, or you can go to a casino, and it's legal, but yet it's not legal in a bar. Again, as everyone has said here, we don't have control over this. This comes from the governor. But each and every one of us, and I can tell you this right now, I will call our representatives tomorrow from this area and urge them to start taking a stronger look at this. You know, I agree with you, Darren, that everybody's winging it. But you know what? We've been doing this now for over 3 months. And I think we ought to have, as a government, a better handle on it at this particular point. I can't sit here and tell you I have the answer, because I do not. I wish we did. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I had the virus, and it's very serious. I've been over it for 3 months. But it's the sickest I ever felt in my life. So it is real. And I sympathize and empathize with the people who are having to make these decisions. But we can't keep winging it, and that's no disrespect in the way you said it. I'm just saying, I think that they have enough abilities and enough qualified people to make better decisions. Now we're having the Attorney General, if what y'all were saying, I didn't see that report, saying not to do it, and then the governor saying to do it. So we got a lot of information. I just find it, the only word I can apply to it is very hypocritical. So again, I empathize with you guys that you need to you want to work. Somebody just got through saying that. You guys don't want a handout. You want to make your money. And we applaud that. And we as representatives of Terrebonne Parish government want to see you working so you pay a heck of a lot of taxes to the government so we can provide more services to you. So again, I'll personally, and I think this whole group will make calls to our senators and representatives, urging them to push the governor to take just not to be so hypocritical. If you're going to close everybody down, close everybody down. Don't pick and choose which ones you're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Navy.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I listened to what Mr. Babin and Mr. Darren Gidger just said. I know you all want to work, but if the government is shutting you down, you should be compensated. I know you don't want a handout, but if they're shutting you down, they should be compensated. They got hundreds of millions of dollars that they talk about filtering down to businesses that already got money and already operating. Hell, the ones that shut down, them the first one they need to look for and compensate you all. So that's why I said that, gentlemen, they need to give you all money if they're going to shut you down. Thank you.
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, it seems like you guys, it'd be like writing a letter to HUD and trying to get air conditioning, or trying to play basketball instead of soccer, trying to get food on your tables instead of food on other people's table. Whether they're selling alcohol or not, they're going to sell alcohol, but you can't sell alcohol. Whether someone can go to church and someone can't go to church. The bottom line is this: I'm for the everyday working person. Take the politics out of other people's lives, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further light, I'm gonna make a little statement. I know Dirk made a comment. If he got the cojones to go ahead and go, it sounds good. But I just want to warn everybody. And look, I feel sorry. I think I would be more inclined to just go ahead and open and see what happens myself. But just so you know, a couple of weeks ago I was in a conversation. I see Dean Schwess had left, was gone, but there was an event that they were trying to schedule here at the Civic Center, and the 50% mandate capacity was in effect at that time, and the function was going to have less than 50%. But then there was also a 250 maximum, regardless of what your capacity was. It had been over the 250, but less than the 50%. And he spoke to the governor's office. The governor's office said there was no problem. But the fire marshal got wind of some kind of way. He called him up and told him that if he had the event, he would come out here personally and shut him down. So, I don't know what his the legal authority is. I'm sure he has that authority, but I'd hate to see anybody get their licenses pulled and have to go through the fight of getting all that stuff back. So really look at what we're doing. I mean, contact the Attorney General, see where he's at. I mean, he's got an office and he takes calls. He put that notice out. I make calls to him, but I hate to advise you to go out and just arbitrarily say it's unenforceable because the Attorney General said it. I would make sure I did a little bit more research before I went out and put my whole business on the line, because at that point, it's possible you put your business on the line. I'd hate to see that happen. But like I said, I would probably be one to go ahead and say the hell with it and let's push it where it goes. But that's just something I know happened right here at this building. So I just want y'all to be aware of that. Other than that, I don't have anything. Mr. Guidry?
The only thing I got to say about that, Steve, is if this stuff goes on for 2 or 3 more months, these people have no businesses.
I totally
Thank you.
agree. I totally agree with you. Okay, seeing no further lights, I'm sorry, Mr. LaBeouf, you can come back to the podium. State your name and address, please.
My name is Myron LaBeouf, and I live at 1706 Rio Vista Avenue. On May the 15th, we had 6 inches of rain overnight, and 8 houses on Rio Vista Avenue got water in the house. Well, 6 weeks later, on the 24th of June, we got 7 inches of rain, and we got more water in our houses. First of all, I want to thank the council and the parish administration, because there's been a lot of activity going on since then to try and remediate this situation. The quick action has been taken by our local government is very much appreciated, and I'm here to thank you for that. I'm representing a small contingent from Rio Vista Avenue tonight. We wanted to come and express our views to you. But let me say this. I've been at this address for 47 years this week. Excuse me. 47 years this week. We've had 6 and 7 inch rains before. What's different now? You're going to be hard pressed to convince anybody on my street that it doesn't have something to do with those 15 houses they built in that big open land on Laban Avenue. Those houses were built up on dirt high enough that it made sure they didn't flood, but all the water that runs off the front of these houses comes back in our neighborhood. But I appreciate the report we got tonight. I look forward to getting this project completed. I sure hope that 40-something inch pump does the job, but they say there's more houses to come in that project up there, so y'all better over-engineer this thing. A catch basin would be pretty much in order, because right now, the only catch basin we got is the 1700 block of Rio Vista Avenue. Thank you.
Wait, don't, we got a light, just hang
Mr. LaBeouf,
tight.
don't leave.
Mr. Guidry?
I really thought you was coming over here to chew my ass out. Listen, we've seen the problem, me and Mr. Dove. It's a major problem that we have in that area. There's never been houses and homes that flooded from a 7 or 8 inch rain before. Right now, what we're doing is at the industrial pump station, we're digging out that sump. We've removed 150 loads
I know
of
that. I
dirt out
drive
of
by
that
that
sump.
every day to make sure they're
And
working on it.
we're putting in a brand new 42 inch pump, and I've been with Mr. Dove, and from where the cement ditch ends and it passes by Rio Vista, where it's the dirt ditch, we're looking at bringing in a machine and cleaning all that out so we can get
They were
more
doing that
drainage.
today.
And I know there's only one catch basin on Rio Vista. I think we need to have more. So we're trying what we can do to get that area improved, because it was bad, you know. Especially when I talked to a lady that her home flooded, and she had just got back there on Sunday, and by Wednesday again, she was flooded again. I mean, that breaks my heart, because I've been through flooding, I've been through water in your home. It's not a fun thing to do, you know. So I feel for y'all and all the neighbors in that area, Mr. LaBeouf.
I would have a request. Twice in 6 weeks is enough to put up with, but this second one was really worse. We had to tear into our walls to dry them out and get at the insulation to take care of this. I'm not fixing my house up again until something happens down at that pump station. So I would appreciate that somebody from the parish could keep us posted on the progress and the prognosis for the completion of this thing, so that we can get back to our normal lives and rebuild our homes.
Well, get your hammer and nails ready, because it's coming fast.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dove?
Yes, Mr. LaBeouf, I've been knowing you a long time, and
Yeah, we were in Kiwanis together years ago.
that's right. There's no doubt the ball was dropped on that sump area. As you notice, they bring in 150, like Dirk said, 150 trucks out of there. You know, we had to go in there and we repaired that old rake system, which should have been repaired. We had all kind of trash in there. Look, I can't make any excuses. The ball was dropped. We are adding a 42-inch pump. They should be started driving the sheet piling either tomorrow or Friday, and that is the #1 priority under my administration, and I believe under this council, to make sure we alleviate that problem so that doesn't happen again. And all I can do is apologize to you and your neighbors that, you know, if there's anything that I've been trying to do is stop people from flooding, and so has this council, and we're gonna do everything, and we're not stopping until that system is 100% where you don't have a problem again. I do assure you, on behalf of this parish government, sir.
Well, my wife has found everybody in parish government that has anything connected with drainage, water, pumps, or whatever. I think she found 9 people. She's been able to talk to 8 of them, and I've got to say, it's been a very, very good experience dealing with these people. They've all been very kind, very thoughtful, forthcoming, very helpful, and I want to give you kudos on the staff that you have over there running these things, and I have every faith from the feedback we've gotten so far from these people that this is going to be taken care of.
Well, it's something else we're adding to that, is they had an old sluice gate back there that they had opened up to help relieve it. I was out there doing all that rain and that, and we're actually putting an actuated floodgate as a backup, which I don't think we're gonna need after we do everything we do, just to make sure all they gotta do is push a button from wherever they're at, and it would open this gate and allow the water out. So we are, you know, myself, Dirk Guidry, and of course this council, everything possible to make correct what's back there, sir.
Well, I compliment you on the job this parish has done to keep the Gulf from coming up, but the projects that we put in to keep the Gulf from coming up is stopping the rain from going out.
Well, and that's what we're working on,
All right.
diligently.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buff. Seeing no further lights, we're gonna move on to committee reports, the Budget and Finance Committee.
I'm going to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget Finance Committee meeting held on July 13, 2020, which calls on one public hearing to introduce an ordinance to amend the 2020 adopted operating budget and the 5-year capital outlay budget position of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and related matters. Al Gap Sports Park Waterline, $143,000. Al Gap Sports Park Waterline, $79,200. General Fund Office of Emergency and Preparedness 2019, City Readiness Initiative, $19,511. Local Government Assistance Program, $165,700. Downtown Development Donation, $2,250. Homer Downtown Development, $89,197. Drainage, $38,559. Add full-time operational manager. Valhalla Drainage, $67,640. Petit Caillou Drainage, $70,000. Hanson Canal Bayou Black Pump Station, $34,000. Industrial Pump Station, $75,000. Louisiana Highway 24 Sidewalk, $60,000. Civic Center Sidewalk, $70,000. Savannah Road Containment Project, $66,000. Bayou Terrebonne Cleanup, $160,000. Road Light District Number 2, Sports Park Lighting, $20,761. Homer Police Department LCLE grant, $21,333, and call the public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, July the 29th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Davy. Second, Mr. Darren Guidry, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Public Services Committee?
Yeah, I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee meeting held July 13th, 2020. I have one public hearing, and it's no parking anytime zone for the entire length of the south side of Robin Lane, including the radius of the cul-de-sac, to provide for the installation of appropriate signs and matters related thereof, and calling for a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 6:30.
Motion by Mr. Harding, second by Mr. Amity, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Community Development Planning?
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee meeting held on July 13th, 2020, which calls no public hearings.
Have a motion by Mr. Domingue, second Mr. Amity, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Going broke. Street lights, as per Mr. Guidry, Darren Guidry. Can I get a second? Second, Ms. Domingue. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Rec District Number 11, 2 unexpired terms due to resignation. Ms. Jasmine Singleton submits application and resignation for consideration.
I move to appoint Ms. Jasmine Singer to this appointment and hold over the remaining position.
Motion by Mr. Harding to appoint Ms. Singleton and hold the other open for 2 weeks. All in favor? Any opposition? Oh, I'm sorry, we got a second, Mr. Deputy Babin. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Rec District 11, 2 expiring terms. Ms. Benita White and Ms. Misty Ruffin expressed their wishes to be reappointed.
Move to reappoint both.
Motion by Mr. Cole Harding to reappoint both of them, Ms. Ruffin and Ms. White. Second by Mr. Babin. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Consolidated Waterworks District Number 1, 1 expiring term, representing District 2. Mr. Wilbert Thomas submits an application and letter of interest.
Move to appoint Mr. Wilbur Thompson to the position.
Motion by Mr. Harding to appoint Mr. Thomas. Second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Recreation District Number 6, 2 expiring term, Ms. Wendy Learett and Mr. Edward Welch each expressed their interest in being reappointed. Motion by Mr. Dirk Guidry to reappoint Ms. Learett and Mr. Welch, and second by Mr. Gerald Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Vacancies and expirations. TJMC Hospital Service District Number 1, 3 expiring terms representing Chamber of Commerce, Medical Society, and General Public. Announcements, Parish President, he's gone. Council members, any announcements? Ms. Domingue.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to remind everybody to complete their census, those censuses can be completed at census.gov or countdabayou.org. You can complete your census between now and October 31st, and I just want to remind everyone in the public how important it is for us to all complete our census, because a family of 4 over 10 years in Terrebonne Parish can bring in $80,000 worth of federal funds to Terrebonne Parish. So it's just really, really important that everybody take a few seconds. It doesn't take very long. I did it myself with my family to go ahead and complete your census. So that's census.gov or countdabayou.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Harding.
Yes, I'd like to send a shout out to Officer O'Brien and Chief Coleman and officers that they have. The work we did at the high rise throughout the Terrebonne Parish, issuing out food and stuff like that for the elderly, those that were needy, and some things for the children. And one thing I want to say, it was one little girl. We went out there and she was fearful of the police. And that's one of the things that I really found that was so great. I was so grateful about is the fact that to have that little girl not to be fearful of the police by the time they left. So I think that was the most wonderful accomplishment out of all of those things that we had. And kudos to the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. And I would like to remind everyone to keep our veterans, active military, firefighters, first responders, and law enforcement in thoughts and prayers every day. If you happen to come across any of these people in your daily travels, acknowledge them and give them your appreciation. Thank you. Monthly engineer reports. As per Mr. John Davy, second Mr. John Amity, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion adjourned, Mr. Darren Guidry, second Mr. John Davy, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.